Beep.
Hey, what's up, guys? We have Michael Thibault here. He directed the movie Clocking the T, which I watched recently and liked. So, how's it going, Michael? How you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there?
Hey, yeah. My name is Michael Thibault. I've worked in the industry for 38 years. Thanks to COVID and the collapse of Hollywood, I may or may not be retired. I started in documentaries, worked in low budget indies in Seattle. I worked in film labs. I eventually got a job working for Roger Corman in the 80s. Started cutting features for him and from there for other companies until one day the straight to VHS boom wound down and I figured I better get a job. So I moved into editing trailers and TV spots for about 10 or 15 years, everything from Avatar to Fantastic Four to The Village to Ocean's 11, blah, 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 blah. I have definitely tricked you into seeing some shitty movies. Um, I made a lot of money, but somewhere along the line, I realized I'd never directed a movie that I came to LA to make. And I was reading Reddit, our filmmakers one morning, and I was inspired by all the do-it-yourself filmmakers in the early aughts. And I thought, I can do this. So I did. I wrote and directed and ushered through post-production and now distribution, a micro-budget indie rom-com dramedy called Clocking the T, which is streaming in all kinds of places, and for which the DVD and Blu-ray discs recently came out, which is why we're talking now.
Yeah, what you mentioned, you wanted to send me one of those. Yeah, you can go ahead and send it. It just, as far as I know, we don't have a DVD player or Blu-ray player. I guess we've gone completely wireless or smart TV or whatever it is now. But
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
I would
they're
want to
uh
watch it. I didn't want to make you
they're
think that I didn't care. I am
oh
interested in
no,
it.
no, that's fine. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you want one, I'll send it to you. They're kind of boutique items now. So
yeah.
the company that makes my discs also sets the prices, and it was kind of crazy because they really were like, yeah, you don't want to sell them too low. This is a boutique business now.
Kind of
Um,
like records or something, like kind of collecting.
right,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
so you know, part of that is uh, we have some special features that are kind of one of a kind. And we have dailies on the disc, on the special edition disc that you can copy to your computer and edit two scenes from the movie in the movie. Uh, and we have, extras and all that good stuff. So we sell a lot of those to collectors, people into boutique discs. We sell a lot of DVDs. We sell to a lot of libraries. So we're actually making more money selling the discs than we are streaming. We've been streaming for almost a year now, and I have made a whopping, here, I'll give you an exact number. Let's see.
Are you streaming? So you are? Is it actually on streaming services right now?
Yeah, if you can go to Amazon, Tubi,
Okay,
Fossum. Yeah, it's all over.
I
It's
didn't
like on,
realize that when you gave
yeah.
me the link to Vimeo, I had to watch it on my phone, which is actually fine because
Oh, yeah.
I pretty much watch everything on my phone. But besides when me and my fiance watch it, but Vimeo isn't on the Fire
Apple.
TV, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So,
pulled all their apps. I gave that to you so you don't have to watch it with commercials.
oh yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
I thank you for that. And it honestly went by pretty. It went by pretty fast. Like I watched it kind of like in two segments, and it really went by fast, so
Yeah.
it was good. But like I have a lot of questions about. Well, one thing I was going to ask you about was the movie came out, and I noticed when I went on like your IMDb or whatever, I looked it up, and it came out in 2018. So I assumed that.
Not really.
Yeah, I assumed that when you sent it, I assumed it was a new movie, but really, it's actually kind of been out there for a while, or
Yeah,
not
it's
really.
that the dates are all fuckered up. I hope I can swear.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
fine. Was it COVID or
um,
whatever? Or...
no, kind of, sort of. So we finished in 2017. We had a distributor lined up. I was in delivery when I found out that our mix was not legal. So the mixing house that had done the mix for the movie had not done it properly, and it wasn't within 24, 27 LUFS. And as a
What
result,
does that mean? Sorry to
well,
stop you there,
there's a
but
whole loudness standard now that you have to match. So you can't just,
oh,
even though you would watch the movie and you really wouldn't have a problem with it, if it if when it's measured it doesn't fall within specs, it gets rejected. So the
and
movie got
that's an actual legal thing. It can't be
that's
too
a
loud. It can't be too loud.
right. It can't be too loud because that's illegal,
Oh
right?
wow.
So you can't be over, I think it's 2.5 decibels, and you can't be too low, right? So that it's not actually being heard on any speaker.
Oh
So
wow.
it's really complicated. It's really like jumping through mental hoops to even get your head around it. Um, so what happened was because of COVID, the mixing house went under, so there was nobody to fix it. So even though it was listed on IMDb at 2018, I had to learn how to mix, which, I've been editing for like 40 years, and mixing sound was not my jam. But I had to learn all that. I had to get the plugins, I had to figure out how to do it. And that took a long time. And I made a lot of mistakes. And it was really hard to figure out. It's so funny. It feels so natural now, all these loudness standards. But at the time, trying to find online an explanation that made sense. I mean, I have difficulty even communicating to you what is a loudness standard. Um,
Yeah, that
so,
seems
yeah.
weird that it would be a legal issue. I guess I kind of understand if it's too loud. I guess you could say it could what hurt somebody's ears or something,
Or
but
blow
too
out your
soft
speakers. Yeah.
or blow out your speakers. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But too soft almost seems like for whatever reason, if a director or an editor or whatever wanted to go intentionally soft, it seems weird that it would actually become a legal issue
Well,
to me. But
you're allowed silence or low sounds for a certain minute amount of time. If it's extended, then it becomes a problem. But like it's measured in like when you look at when you run it through, the the meter, it will actually give you all the numbers for all that. And as long as you're within those numbers, you're fine. In my case, I was way too low. And when you brought everything up, all you heard was, background noises. Like all these things that were in the mix were now elevated, and now you were hearing traffic more than you were hearing dialogue, and the whole mix just came apart.
yeah,
And and so I ended up having to redo it myself, and that took, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. But
redo the whole thing or just or redo like
here's the thing: I went through it, and I had 40 errors. And the more I fixed, the more I realized I had more to fix. It was like as you improve things, you realize how bad everything else is.
yeah, yeah,
And as I was going through, I was finding they had put dialogue on the surrounds. They had put there was dialogue missing. Um, there were sound effects missing. It was a mess. And so I ended up rebuilding the whole damn thing. And as time went by, that was when this whole new generation of plugins that could extract audio and get rid of the background noise. And so it was like, oh, I can make this sound really better. Instead of sounding like a John Cassavetes movie in 1974, uh, if you've seen it, the dialogue's clean, it sounds good, you understand what everyone's saying. And you would never guess that we shot in an apartment that was really, really loud with traffic noise. So as I kept improving and and realizing that I had to upgrade my sound system so that I could mix at home and blah 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 blah, um, it became this kind of like for 2 years of lockdown, it gave me something to do. So while everyone I knew was going crazy, I had this project. So in a weird sort of way, I felt no rush to get it out. So by the time we got it done and ready to release, it was 2024. It was last year, beginning of last year. And, that's when I handed it over to, who do I use? Film Hub. And, and then I went through the pain and agony of matching their standards. It's brutal, man. Finishing a movie is brutal.
Yeah. So you mentioned, yeah, I think you were going to tell me how much you made, and then I asked this question. But
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
and
$284.72.
which is funny was that's probably not that bad for an indie film, right? I mean, even though it
Uh,
sounds bad, like it's, I
well,
would
that's
imagine that
over
most
that's
indie
over
films,
100,000 minutes streamed in a year.
which is good, right? I
Yeah, which
mean,
is good. If
that
people are watching it, but
on
it's
Amazon
meaning
and Tubi and all those.
Tubi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's just Amazon. So I have
Okay,
no idea I'm making the same amount of money on Tubi, so I'm guessing it's the same.
okay,
So
yeah, but I mean, I
Film Hub
know.
Film Hub only tells you what the minutes watched are on Amazon. Everything else you have to pay extra.
Yeah, I know how this stuff
Yeah.
works kind of in terms of YouTube and how much you get paid per how much is viewed. And it's,
Right.
it's obviously very small. Same thing with music. Like
Right. It's like a
Spotify put,
penny.
yeah, a penny per what
Yeah.
listen or whatever. So I mean anything is good. And is that
Yeah.
is that all profit that you made, or is that just
That's profit. Yeah.
okay? So yeah, I mean as long as you made money, because you could have lost money. A lot of the major
Sure.
movies end up losing money, right? Like even like some of the good
Yeah.
ones that came out recently, like
Right.
even One Battle After Another supposedly might lose money, right, with Leonardo DiCaprio. I think I
No,
heard that.
it'll never lose money. It'll be nominated for Best Picture. They'll get a rush of people watching it. At that point, they'll rent it. So they'll make good money on that.
But as of right
It'll be a
now,
title that always streams and always sells on boutique disc. That movie will not make lose money.
I think technically it probably hasn't made its money back yet, right?
Yeah, but back in the 70s and 80s, you didn't expect to make all your money back in the theater.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
expected to make part of it in the theater, part of it in DVD sales, part of it in home video. I mean, in television and foreign sales. There's that movie is not losing money.
yeah. I mean, any Leonardo, well, maybe I don't know, but I would say any Leonardo DiCaprio movie probably won't lose money, but
Yeah,
it's not doing as good as expected as in just from the theaters. But like you said, it'll be nominated for the Oscar, and
yeah,
then yeah. Did you see that movie?
yeah. I did. I saw it like a matinee, and it was pretty full.
Did you
I
like it?
saw it. Yeah, I did. I saw it, I guess, 2 weeks, a week after it came out. So I was pretty surprised that on a matinee, I think I saw it on a Thursday and the audience was pretty filled. So that's a good sign.
Did you like it? Because
Mhm.
I heard obviously the critics and the reviews are really good, but then I've heard some bad things about it. I don't know if you know who like Bret Easton Ellis is, the director or the writer of
Right, right, right.
American Psycho, didn't
Yeah,
like it, and he's saying it's kind of this. The critics kind of gave it a good review just because it's like whatever liberal themed or whatever. But like to me, I haven't seen it, so I can't say. But based off of and I have no problem with the liberal theme, like I'm liberal, but
yeah,
based off of the trailer, I wasn't impressed with the trailer. Neither was my fiance, who likes Leonardo DiCaprio. We didn't see it because it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, mainly because she didn't want to go. But
yeah,
I do want to see it. But based off of the trailer, I'm not super impressed. And to be honest with you, in general, Paul Thomas Anderson, even though I do obviously like him because he's like pretty much the go, director or whatever for some things, but in my opinion, he has missed on a few things. In my opinion, they've been a little like Inherent Vice or even the last Daniel Day Lewis one
right.
was a
But hasn't
little.
but hasn't everybody who's done enough movies,
I would say, except
you
for
know,
Quentin Tarantino, maybe you know what I
if
mean. Quentin
you
Tarantino.
if you look up Humphrey Bogart, you're gonna see 5 or 6 pictures that like I've never heard of that.
No, like you're right.
Right.
My overall point with PTA is that I think that he gets
Yeah.
maybe a little bit too much. credit, but then maybe I'm just not smart enough. Maybe I'm just not, a film buff enough to realize how amazing he is. Some of his movies have just been kind of just didn't do it for me. You know what I mean? That's my
Yeah.
opinion. But obviously, I like him when he hits. Like it's good. There Will Be Blood
I,
was amazing, but it was also, I mean,
I would say that if there's a problem with uh one battle after another, it's that think it was I think they clearly tried to sell it as a wacky comedy, and it's not really.
yeah,
It's really a
I didn't
drama
like
with
that.
some humorous elements in it. And I think if you go into that thinking, "Oh, I'm going to laugh a lot," you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
And that's a failure of advertising,
yeah,
right?
well, yeah, and that was what the trailer was. It was that exactly that goofy
Yeah,
comedy, and it was like,
yeah,
why are they? I don't get why they're even doing that. Like,
right.
um, I don't know.
So what's happening is you are walking in thinking you're going to laugh all through the movie when actually the laughs in the trailer are the spikes throughout the movie,
Yeah, and
you
not
know.
only that, but just
And
turning the
so you're like wondering, why isn't the rest of the movie this funny? And it's like, well, it never was.
yeah.
They went with what tested best, and they don't give a shit.
I'm assuming, yeah, they thought that that was going to bring in more people or whatever. But
Yeah,
in my mind, when directors, especially like him, try to be funny, this is true also. And the Coen brothers are obviously amazing, but when they try to be funny, like with their newer, with one of Ethan or Joel, I think Ethan Coen's newer movies,
sure.
like it just, in my opinion, or like with that Caesar one they did, it's like you guys are really good directors. Like I don't see why you're doing comedies. Like they're not hitting, in my opinion. And it seems like to stick with what you're good at. What hits for me in terms of comedy is more like Breaking Bad or like even Quentin Tarantino's comedies, where it's like it's not like Pulp Fiction. It's not a comedy movie per se, but it
Right.
is super funny. You know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
it happens to be funny. Whereas this, like you said, they promoted it like a comedy when it's just not. So I don't know why. Besides, maybe they thought it would bring more people. But anyways,
Yeah, I
what?
mean, I think he makes movies that are more complex than they seem, and I have found myself liking his movies more the second watch because I'm kind of like, okay, I know what you're doing now. Uh, oh, I get it. And there's one thing I've always noticed in my life is that the albums the like music albums that I've really loved, that are really like the most important albums in my life, I almost always didn't like the first time I heard them, and it
Yeah,
took a few listens for me to get in sync with it. And I feel that way with some filmmakers. Like they'll, you have to give their work another shot because, you know, there really is something great in there. You're just not up to speed yet. I mean, the first time I saw Phantom Thread, I was like, what the hell is this? But the
that was the
second
one that I
time
was
I
thinking
saw
of.
it,
Yeah,
yeah, but the second time I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
yeah,
And nobody's making those movies anymore. When in the 70s when I grew up, I didn't know it was a golden period of filmmaking. We used to watch those movies all the time, and then we'd watch, The Final Countdown or Rocky the next day, and now it's like they're few and far between. Not a lot of not a lot of serious filmmakers.
yeah. Do you feel like a movie like Rocky was like a legitimately good, well-made movie?
Oh yeah, Rocky's like incredible.
Really, like all five. Because I mean, I honestly like I haven't even probably seen all of them, but when I do watch them, I'm not
Right.
saying they're bad because obviously they're amazing. Like they're highly successful movies.
Yeah.
But like when I'm watching them, I'm like, well, first of all, Sylvester Stallone is just a cheesy actor to me. Like he's always been a cheesy actor to me. It's hard to take him super serious. But like I said, take this with a grain of salt coming from me, who's not, from the '70s.
Uh,
I haven't watched all these
yeah,
movies, but
it's when you watch something like Rocky or Saturday Night Fever, it's really hard to separate it from its place in history. But if you can do that, and I didn't see Rocky until 20 years ago, and I didn't see Yeah, about 20, 25 years ago, I was in the checkout line at Target, and there are the gum and the candy, and hanging there was Saturday Night Fever for $5. So I bought it and I watched it for the first time because I didn't think disco was cool when I was in high school, so I didn't watch it. And I was blown away what a great American movie that is. And if you can just forget about that, those two movies are really, really great, great American movies. Um,
And who directed those? I don't even know who directed.
it was Avildsen directed Rocky, and John Badham did uh, the Saturday Night Fever.
I don't think I know either of them. And once again, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm coming from a place where I'm not proficient. I'm not good with the older movies. I'm, I
yeah.
wasn't born when they were made. And then also same thing with like, everyone's like, Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather is the best movie of all. I mean, pretty much everyone will say that. I saw that and I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't
You
think
know,
it's from.
I
I don't think I can adjust to it. But
I think you have to. I think like you have to step back on a lot of these things because they're so ingrained in the culture that even if you haven't seen Rocky, you kind of know what the story is, right? It's like when you're in high school and they give you 1984 to read. You kind of already know what the story is. That's how ingrained in the culture it is.
yeah,
And you have probably seen more Rocky ripoffs than you have ever seen Rocky. So by the time you get back to
yeah,
rock, by the time you get to the original
yeah.
touchstone, you're like, this doesn't seem special. I
Like
mean,
I
how
think that
many
this is
how
a
many
ripoff
Die
of the
Hard
newer
ripoffs
movies.
have there been?
Yeah, like I'm thinking that Rocky's ripping off the newer movies that I'm seeing when in reality it's
Right,
the reverse. No,
right.
yeah, exactly. And once again, I am no I really am in no place to judge. I think that like all these are, amazing movies in terms of cultural movies. I just think that because I'm not from the era and all that. What about like John? I'm just kind of curious on what you think of an actor as John Travolta or even Stallone. Like Travolta, maybe especially. I kind of got his part in like Pulp Fiction, but like in general, like, do
Well,
you actually think he's a good actor at this point?
Travolta,
Yeah.
yeah, Saturday Night
But
Fever, Blowout.
I mean,
Uh,
as of this point, um, when I see Travolta in a movie, it's almost like maybe I don't know. I don't maybe it's just because like he's past his prime or whatever. But have you seen a good Travolta movie in the past 20
I
years?
don't remember the last time I saw a Travolta movie, but he's quite a good actor. So, and so is Stallone. I mean, he's incredible in Copland.
I didn't see Copland. Which one? I mean,
Yeah.
I know the name, but who else was in there?
And the other thing is, like, let's say you're gonna make a Die Hard, right? Let's just pick that out of the blue. Let's say you're gonna make Die Hard. Is that gonna work with Daniel Day-Lewis in the center?
Probably not, right?
Right.
I mean, he might be able to
You
do
need
anything, but
somebody who has movie star charisma, who can act, who can do that role. That's how those movies work. And so, the complaints that people have about, somebody like Stallone or Keanu Reeves or whatnot, to me, I grew up, I heard the same complaints about, you know, Gary Cooper. Like he doesn't have range. And, that's not true. Gary Cooper has amazing range.
which
So,
one was Gary Cooper? Like is he like an older?
yeah, yeah, he's like a golden age actor. He was considered somebody who didn't have a lot of range, but that guy did comedy, he did romance, he did westerns, he did drama. That guy could do it all.
See, I kind of come, and once again, like I am not a film expert. I am not a good actor. I probably cannot act at all. But I come from a perspective where I'm like, I don't really think the actor matters that much. Like it's like you put a guy in the role who looks good and like basically can read the lines like Keanu Reeves, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and It's fine. Like the Matrix was totally fine with Keanu Reeves, even though I think Keanu Reeves, even though I like Keanu Reeves, I think he's a terrible actor. I mean, I can't justify saying that Keanu Reeves, like, is he playing his role good? Yeah, but um, I just couldn't imagine you putting Keanu Reeves in, like, a serious Daniel Day Lewis type movie and him. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just dumb, but it's like I know you just said you think Keanu Reeves, he must be a good actor, but I'm not seeing it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah, I
um,
think I think somebody like Keanu Reeves is a surgeon. It's like a heart surgeon. He does what he does expertly, and not a lot of people could have pulled off Speed. And I
and Speed
disagree.
was
I think
good.
I think the actor is really important. And I don't care if you have a name actor. I don't care if you have a expensive actor. If you have, like in our movie, people you've never heard of. You're paying for this. This is what they bring to your movie, and that's really what the story is being told through, is their expression. So I think they're enormously important. And in my experience, I had great collaboration with the actors, and they brought a lot to it. Everything from, I don't think the character would say this, to what about if we did this instead? And they take these words on a page and they bring it alive, and that's great. You know.
Yeah, by the
Um,
way, I do think that the actors in your movie were good actors, and I do think that there are good actors.
yeah,
Um, However, I think that there's a certain amount of looks that matter. If you have the right look, then that's like if you put like Matt Damon in, Matt Damon's obviously in the Bourne movies or whatever. If you
right.
and this is kind of obvious, but like if you put some schlubby kind of guy like me or whatever, like in that role, it's not going to play out. Like you want a good looking Matt Damon, kind of like in shape. Not only that, but I'm assuming he's a good enough actor to do it. But does it really matter if it's Matt Damon in that movie? Could it be Jeremy Renner, which was he was in one of them, right? And then could it be any good looking? Could Ben Affleck just swap in for it? I don't know how much it is the
I don't
actor.
know.
Maybe not Ben Affleck, but
I
any
can
guy
tell
who's
you
like
this. I can tell you this from my experience. When you get on the set, the movie you're making is determined by the actors, the temperature outside, the equipment you have, the time you have available, uh,
everything.
the cloud. If the cloud's there, you're making this scene. If it's there, you're making that scene. And it's kind of incredible how you really are making a specific movie with specific people at a specific time. If you were making that scene, shooting that scene the day before, you're shooting a different scene. So I'll give you a perfect example. Even with the people that we made this movie with, there's a scene in the kitchen where they have a big argument. This is after the farmer's market, and there's a big plot twist there. Um, we shot that, and it was written to be way funnier. There are a lot of funny jokes in it, and Ben really played to the humor. And I remember we shot that whole scene, that whole argument, and everybody was kind of laughing in between takes, and it was a good vibe. And it was like, man, we are killing it. And I got home that night and I offloaded all those dailies and I went through them and I realized this is a disaster. Um, this is not going to work. This effectively kills the movie, because if we don't take this plot twist seriously, why should the audience take it seriously? And so we went back 2 days later and we reshot that whole scene with the tone that's in the movie, where it's kind of played more straight, less humor. We ripped out a bunch of comedy lines and we played it more straight. And so there's an example of same actors, same script, same location. 2 days later, in two different mindsets, and one of them's in the movie and the other one is hopefully forgotten.
But
So
wouldn't that be more the director than the actor? Because you were the one who saw it and said we got to redo this. Would the
yeah, yeah,
actor? Yeah,
yeah. Well, it's funny. I mentioned it to one of the actors. I think I mentioned it to Yana, and she said, "Yeah, I was thinking the same thing." So even she had sort of reservations about it while we were shooting. So, it's just you're making a movie with a particular group of people at a particular time at a particular place. If you made it an hour earlier, an hour later, it would be different.
yeah.
That's my experience.
Well, and to be honest with you, I obviously believe you over myself because you've been in the industry for so long. So when I say this is coming from somebody who's like, just watching the movie and what I get out of the movie. I also
Right.
am assuming that, oh man, that must just be so much fun to make a movie when in reality, maybe it is fun, but it's probably a lot of hard work too. So
It's brutal.
yeah, yeah,
No, I got 4 hours of sleep a night for a month. About halfway through, I was just fried.
yeah,
You're finishing the movie on momentum. You're just rolling forward like a car in neutral.
yeah.
It's
And that's probably
brutal.
also mostly the director over maybe some of the not necessarily some of the other roles. The director probably has to put in the most amount of effort, I
Well,
would assume, right?
on a budget like this, I'm wearing a lot of hats, and so I don't have a crew like you would expect a Hollywood budgeted movie to be. I mean,
Yeah,
at our largest, we were an 8-person crew. Usually we were me, sound, PA, makeup, 4 people,
yeah.
4 or 5 people. That was usually what we were.
So, I mean, would you be able to give me an example? And I know some people maybe don't like this question because they don't want to like put down actors or whatever, but it's like, would you be able to give me an example of a movie where you're like, you know what, that movie should have been good, but that actor just was not good, or maybe it's not even that they're not good, it's just they weren't good for the role, and then maybe also a movie where an actor really did just kind of make the movie. Because in my mind, once again, it's coming from a person who doesn't work in Hollywood. I, the plot is huge, the story is huge, and then also the director is huge. And an example would be, I don't know if you saw Ballad of a Small Player, but I just watched that on Netflix.
Mhm.
And the guy who did it, Peter, I'm forgetting his Edward Berger did it, who also did
Mhm.
like Conclave and
Oh yeah,
Quiet.
yeah, yeah. Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
So I just
Conclave's great.
watched that, and he's supposed to be a really good director, and he is. And this movie was great in terms of like filming and cinematography and even acting with Colin Farrell. But the story, in my opinion, wasn't good. I don't think it didn't do good in terms of like reviews. So in my opinion, the story is always kind of number one. But anyways, I don't know if you agree with that or not, but could you could you give me an example of maybe the story was great, the directing was great, but the actor just did not. I don't know if I can think of a single movie where I'm like, you know what, like that movie failed was the actor in it or the actors.
Yeah, I don't think uh, unless they're completely phoning it in. Um, I think you could make an argument that, there are movies, the last couple of movies by Bruce Willis when he was severely impaired weren't really working.
Or
Um,
even De Niro, maybe. I feel like De Niro's more recent movies haven't been as good.
I don't know. That's a tough subject. You don't know what was happening on set or with what people were doing. And there's also quite a lot of, you know, movie making is really an editor's medium. You can get a really great performance in take one and a real crap performance in take four. And I have worked with directors who will choose take four. So now you the audience goes, that actor's failing. But no, in the outtakes, they gave a great performance. Because it's all a matter of taste. So
Well, it is all a matter of taste, but I just personally can't. And because and the whole thing is with this is because it's so subjective and it's a matter of taste, you almost can't even like really like give an opinion I mean, you can give an opinion, but it's kind of like, oh, well, that's just your opinion. It's very
Right.
hard to kind of boil down exactly whether a movie kind of lived up. And I'm that's a kind of where I want to get to. I kind of like Rotten Tomatoes because of I know a lot of people probably don't like Rotten Tomatoes because of that, but for me, it's like I really kind of want to know whether something I want to boil down why is this really good, not just like, oh, it's just some sort of it's the next
Right.
fad or whatever. You know what I mean?
Rotten Tomatoes is the next generation of Siskel and Ebert's thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, and it's like I
Right.
think that it's even though I think they get it wrong a lot of the times, and it's so they're the way that they do it might be like certain movies aren't don't deserve really bad scores, and certain movies don't deserve really good scores, in my opinion. But I like kind of boiling down to why it was good or why it was bad, and I can't personally think of a movie where I walked away and I said, you know, that movie was really good, but I just really did not like that actor. It's and that's
Yeah.
kind of almost a compliment to these actors. It's like they all seem to be hitting the mark. So,
Right. But the funny thing is there are movies I've seen where I go, wow, I don't think anyone else could have pulled that movie off.
like, what would be an
You know,
example?
Ferris Bueller.
You think only
Yeah. I
What's
mean,
his name? Matthew.
the the quality of his charisma is the humor of that movie.
He is perfect for that movie. Yeah,
Yeah, and if you replace him with any other actor, you will not get that movie. You will
yeah.
get another movie, you know. So,
And then maybe
there's a perfect
Michael J.
example.
Fox in
Yeah,
Back to the Future.
yeah,
Well,
right.
no, you're totally correct on that aspect, but the part that I feel like I have a point with is like when I ask people, "Can you name a bad actor?" And like you said, Bruce Willis, but that's a little unfair. Not from
But
you,
I
but
wasn't saying, but I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying you could say
no, yeah,
his last couple of movies when he's clearly in decline and he's not at the same energy level.
I totally
Uh,
agree with you. But I'm talking
you
about
know,
somebody who's not in decline, like somebody who, um,
I don't know. I watch a lot of old movies and foreign films, so I mean, most of the stuff I'm watching is pretty great. Um, I can't think off the top of my head the last time I saw a movie where I went, "Wow, those people suck."
well, I mean, I know it's kind of
You
like
know,
I'm not trying to be negative. It's more just like,
yeah.
and not only that, but I also feel like these actors kind of like I mean, most of them are great. I mean, it's like most of them are. I love Keanu Reeves. I love Bruce Willis. I love De Niro.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying to like shit on anybody. It's just kind of like I can't think of a movie, and sometimes they'll even put in like athletes or something into movies, and they seem to do a fine job. So I'm like, I'm not really getting it. Like, you know what I mean? They'll put in Kim Kardashian or whatever, and it's like, oh, she seemed fine. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it kind of just seems like put in anybody. I mean, obviously, like you said, there are certain rules where they pick the person like Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad, perfect. Walter White
Right.
or whatever his name is, Walter White's name. Um, what's his name in real life? Uh,
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, exactly. So he was like perfect for that role. But anyways, I originally wanted to start. I've kind of gotten off on
We movie nerded out.
yeah, which is totally fine because I
Yeah.
kind of feel like people at least know about some of the stuff we're talking about. But anyways, let's go back. I want to you said you started as an editor for
Hmm.
40 years ago. I kind of originally wanted to go back to you being an editor. I'm somebody who I don't work in Hollywood. I would want to at some point I wanted to be like a sound designer. Like you
Oh,
mentioned doing
cool.
sound design. I didn't do it, but I wanted to do it. I do YouTube videos, so whatever I'm doing is like, very low
Right.
level but I kind of want to know the experience of how it is working on set. Where you said it sounds like you work with a lot of big movies, big directors, James Cameron. You mentioned Avatar, so
Right. I
and
cut
then
a trailer and I cut a bunch of TV spots for the first Avatar. Yeah.
yeah, and then we can obviously get to your movie too. So, what was your career like? I mean, was that a pretty cool career
Well,
working with a bunch of big directors and all that?
yeah. I mean, I didn't work with a bunch of big directors. I've spent most of my time in the indie world. In Corman, that was the 80s Concord Pictures era. So he had just sold New World. And we did, and what did we do? I think we did 40 or 50 pictures a year, 30, something like that. It was huge. It was like three movies a year. Sorry, three movies a month we would do because I
What?
worked in post production.
Three
So
movies
we
a month?
three movies a month because one would be foreign, one would be in town, and one would be a pickup. So we would cut ad campaigns for that. We would cut trailers. We would prep it for, release. And that was down in Venice, California. He had bought an old lumber yard, but left the sign up, the old Hammond lumber yard. And so that's where I started cutting trailers. In fact, if you go on YouTube and you look for the original trailer for Death Stalker 2, that's my trailer. I cut that.
And
Um,
I know the name Roger Corman, but
yeah,
who is he exactly? Is he a director?
he's a director, producer from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He gave breaks to a lot of big names like Martin Scorsese, Ron Howard, and just like a ton of people. And
What were his
so
movies?
Roger, Little Shop of Horrors, I think is the most well known.
Okay.
Um, you know, um, but from there, I started cutting features, and then from there, I started working with other companies. I left Rogers, and so I did like the martial law fight movies, and I cut some straight to video stuff for about 10 years there, I think. And then that was all the straight to video VHS back when they had Blockbuster Video and 2020 Video. And then that kind of dried up as DVD came around, and so I was like, well, I better get a steady job. So I went back into trailers, and that's when I started cutting on like all the big name stuff. And that's a pretty intense environment.
And what were the like? What kind of software would you use? I'm assuming it was different maybe than now back then, but
Yeah, in the beginning it was Avid. Well, in the beginning it was 35 millimeter. Then it was Avid, and then everyone in about 2002, everyone sort of jumped to Final Cut 3, and we were on that until 2000. I forget when they killed Final Cut, 2007. Um, and then everybody sort of either went back to Avid or they jumped to Premiere Pro. So, you know,
and
mostly I worked in Avid.
Final Cut's still around though, right? I mean, with app, you mean by
Yeah, but it's
Apple?
so radically different that it's not really suited to an environment like a trailer vendor. You are throwing bins around, you're trading cuts with people. As the campaign progresses, they'll fall in love with certain units, little pods, and you will cut that out of your trailer and you'll give it to someone else and they'll put it in their TV spot, that kind of thing. And Final Cut as it exists now is really not suited to do that.
Why do you think Apple chose to change it to make it more for kind of like everyday
I
users or something?
I think that I think that Apple fell in love with the idea of always making quantum leaps, and they made a huge quantum leap when really that was a product um, they should have been a lot more conservative with. They should have come out with Final Cut 8, 9, 10, and then, slowly change the product over to what they wanted it to be. And instead, they just dropped something so radical that people basically just walked away from it.
Yeah,
You got
and
and when they dropped Final Cut, the new version, uh, Final Cut had the market share in post production, and Avid was on the verge of bankruptcy. People forget this. And so that decision um, brought Avid back from death's door.
And then you mentioned that it was like stressful. I mean, part of the I think I really kind of like I've had some other directors, actors, people on, and I kind of want to know what it's like kind of working on set or whatever, but I think that it's kind of hard to explain. And like you mentioned that it was very stressful. And could you kind of go into that a little bit, or is it one of those things where you
Well,
kind of have to be there?
as a trailer editor, TV editor, you're not working on set. You know, you're
Well, no, I just mean in general, like the
yeah.
yeah.
You're working on a campaign and you're working usually while they're filming. So you're getting dailies as they're shooting, you're getting dailies and you're trying to incorporate that into whatever you're cutting because they want to get the trailer out as soon as possible. And you can be working on something depending on what the schedule of that movie is for months. I mean, I think I worked on Avatar 8 or 9 months. I worked on Alamo, Christ, almost a year. Um,
Which one was Alamo? I know the
that was
name.
the Ron Howard. No, it was oh, I forget the guy's name. Was it John Hooker? I forget the director's name. It's kind of a forgotten movie with Billy Bob Thornton
I
in
was
it.
gonna say, yeah, Billy Bob Thornton, yeah.
Yeah, and
Just a movie
you
about the
know,
Alamo, pretty much.
right, and
Yeah.
that I worked on for like almost a year. So
Just for the trailer, just for the 3 minute, two
I
3 minute
worked on
trailer.
TV spots for a year,
And what was
just
the
cutting
stressful
TV
part of
spots.
the job? Like, I mean, obviously,
So
I can
because
imagine, but
everything's a rush, everything's high stakes, everything's gets tested. You're constantly cutting fast for the next meeting. Um, you might be working till 11 midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the movie doesn't open for 8 months, you know, and it takes a toll. You know, lots of people in the business are divorced or unable to have relationships or just, they have this quiet burnout that they think is normal.
are you talking like 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. or did you get in kind of late
Oh
or
no, editors usually roll in around 10. but
10
but
a.m.?
you're working a long intense day. So
Yeah. And is this all on like a regular computer? Pretty much everything you're doing is on a computer editing?
yeah, it's crazy. When I started back in the 80s, you had 35 millimeter film, you had Steenbecks or stand-ups, you had assistants, you were many times in multi-room offices so that everyone could fit in. And now the last couple of trailers I cut it on a 27-inch iMac and I upload it. What you see on YouTube literally came out of my computer.
So today, if I wanted to do what you did, pretty much MacBook. What did you use for this movie? Was it um
I cut on a what is that? It's 27 inch. It's right there. You can sort of see the corner of it right there. It's a 27-inch iMac 5K Retina. I cut the whole movie on that in 2K.
and what software did you use?
I used Avid.
Okay. I don't really know too much about Avid. Is that just kind of like pretty much same thing as Final Cut
It,
or Premiere Pro?
yeah, it's just another NLE, but it has the benefit of being the industry standard. However, it's incredibly unstable. So, the last all the trailer, the TV spot, the promo I cut for the disc, I cut those on in Resolve, and I really like that a lot.
Is it pretty difficult if I wanted to learn how to use it, is it pretty difficult to use or not really? Or
Not
in
really.
any of them? Adobe Premiere
No.
Pro, Final Cut, no.
No, they all kind of work the same except Final Cut, which is so radically different that um, it's really hard to wrap your head around it, especially if you're used to a workflow that works for you.
And then in terms of color grading, that type of stuff, did you shoot it all on like raw or log,
I shot
or
it raw. Yeah, we shot raw, and then I transcoded that to 2K ProRes. We brought that into Avid. We cut the movie. Then I rebuilt it. I took that timeline. I brought it into Resolve. I handed that off to the colorist. He color corrected the movie, gave it back to me. So now it really just lives in Resolve. I haven't. I think once I exported to Resolve for color, I never went back to Avid.
and do you so color grading is something that like I wanted to get into, but just haven't, mostly because my computer's probably not good enough to do any of this. But is it pretty difficult to get into? Is that why you gave it to somebody else? Just is it a whole nother kind of world to get into color grading and stuff?
Yeah, the problem with color correcting is I actually was a color timer way back in my lab days, back in the early 80s. So I have a good eye for color, but you know, the monitor you're on really determines whether what you're seeing is accurate. And I didn't trust the monitor I was on. So it was like, I'm not going to rent a monitor. I'm not going to spend 3,000 for a Flanders scientific monitor. So it was easier to just give it to somebody. And at the time, I was mixing the movie and I was trying to get graphics done. So it was one of the few times in this micro budget movie I was able to give the sound to people, give the picture to people, and I could go do this other stuff. Usually, because I'm doing everything, if I got to step down and do a graphic and nothing else is getting done, I'm doing that graphic and I can't do the next thing until that graphic is done. Which is why these films take so long to make. And clocking is kind of deceptively simple. Like there are enormous amounts of graphics in there, from phones to overlays to computer screens. All those have to be designed. All those have to be mocked up. All those have to be animated and plated. There's a lot of visual effects in um, Walking the Teeth, including changing the sky because I didn't like the color of it.
By visual effects, you mean you actually you literally had to put that in completely in post?
Right. So
No.
whenever they're looking at a computer or a phone, they're actually looking at a green screen.
Oh, really?
So all that's plated in and all that was created. Um, and then there are times when, like, for example, we shot when she, at the beginning of Reel 2, when she leaves her apartment to meet him for the date. We shot that on an overcast day, but I needed it to be kind of late night, late afternoon, sun's getting down in the sky. So I replaced all those skies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there was one shot that I remember was really cool where they were, and I think it's even the shot of one of the posters where they're up on
Yeah.
the street and the sun sets behind them, and it
Yeah.
looks kind
So
of like a
that
poster type
that was
shot.
shot that was shot on a bright, sunshiny day with an absolutely clear blue sky. That acted like a blue screen for us.
And then were you the one who went and put in that background, or did you have the?
Yeah. So I created those clouds from a bunch of pictures I took. I plated that in and then color corrected everything so that it looks like it's early morning sunrise. And it's quite a fake sunrise. There's way too much color in it, but it works for the movie.
Yeah, it did look kind of fake, but you're right. It did
Yeah.
work. It's kind of like it reminds me kind of like the Ryan Gosling La La Land, where it was like some
Right.
of it looked
Right.
fake, but it was intentional. Yeah.
Right. There were two points in the movie where I wanted it to be movie studio romantic. That was one shot, and the other one was them at the coffee apology, where she's like, for every microwave burrito, we have to go on a hike. So that was shot with a lot of color and traffic in the window, and I wanted those two moments to be like very, uh, movie romance.
Yeah, and then what about the? Oh yeah, so why would you have to use instead of using real phones? Why would you use the green screen instead? Like, why not just use the like a real phone?
Because some of that stuff is animated and I can animate it to match their finger. So that's one reason. Another reason is if you have it, if you work the other way, that means you have to lock the design down, you have to lock the photos in, you have to make everything done so that it's there on set when you are ready to shoot. Right? That's the difference between, say, the volume on The Mandalorian or shooting against a green screen. A green screen, you can figure out what goes into it later. On The Mandalorian, they have to have all those backgrounds done before they start shooting.
Okay, I haven't seen The Mandalorian, but
Right.
um, yeah, it just seems like what I mean. I don't know. I think I'm asking the same question twice, but why not? Like, you couldn't just use the like an actual phone. Like, I'm still not really
No,
getting.
the phone is real, but what's in the screen is not real.
Oh, okay. So you added into the screen.
Right. I don't have
Okay.
the green screen on me, but they would literally hold it like this. This would all be green, and then they could do whatever they want, and I would track it. And also, as they hold it, you get a natural light on their face from it being there.
Okay. As opposed to
Yeah,
just having whatever you wanted in the scene in the actual screen, you just do it in post.
correct. Because I didn't know what it was going to be yet. You know.
Okay. And one thing I noticed too in the movie was like some of the phones, and maybe this is just me, but looked kind of old. And I guess it was made back in 2018, but some of them almost
Yeah.
look like older style phones. Was that just because it was
Yeah, we kind of mixed it up because we didn't want it to be the Apple iPhone show. So we made sure that Candace had a different phone that turned out to be a Windows mobile phone, which was actually quite a nice phone. And then we would give like Rob, we gave him a blue what is that, BlackBerry, which were already sort of fading out at that point. And we
yeah.
just tried to mix it up so that it didn't look like everyone was advertising for Apple.
Yeah. And then what kind of camera did you use?
I shot it on the Blackmagic, their first 2.5K. Uh, and that meant that I could use that 2K image because you deliver in 1080p, you deliver in HD. That meant I could zoom in on an image of basically 100%. So if you look at, say, when they're in the Mexican restaurant, that scene, you can see that I'm changing sizes all through there. And I'm able to do that because ultimately it's going out at half the size and I'm not getting any generational loss. So it allowed me to fake having different setups and therefore visually not become boring.
Okay. And was it all shot in 2K? But then you're saying when you put it out, it's HD.
Right.
Yeah. And are most films now pretty much come out in HD, or would you say do a lot of films come out in
Uh,
4K now? Or
well, you can deliver in 4K, uh, but it still gets compressed. And overwhelmingly, what you're streaming is just HD. It's standard 1920 by 1080p.
okay. And then would you say that you'd be able to do this like today on an iPhone? Because now they have like the ProRes log, ProRes raw, and all that.
Yeah, I think you could. I think if you then you would just concern yourself with lighting. I think that the phone cameras are incredible now. Hell, the microphones are incredible.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where they are both in different countries. This was after we had wrapped. I needed to temp the dialogue because there was too much traffic noise. And so she was in Germany, he was in LA, or he was visiting his parents in another state, I forget. They did it on their phones and we ended up keeping it. Like you can't tell, it sounds great.
Yeah. And that was even back then.
That was back then, and now, like, dang.
Yeah. And then going back to before when you were editing, did you have any run-ins with you worked on Avatar and then Alamo and some of the other ones. Did you have real quick, I just wanted to ask you this before I
Yeah.
forget. Did you have any run-ins with um James Cameron or anybody like that? Like
No, no, no. I had to I they had been cutting a trailer for I think 3 months and they weren't happy. They didn't know how to tell the story without a narration. And so they gave us a shot. So we had to go to a secure room at Lightstorm, which used to be on 9th Street in Santa Monica. And then we were given access to the cut at that point, and I just had to figure it out. And so I think I did a really good cut, and then they realized, oh, we can tell this without cards, and they gave it to their buddy, and then he he took bits of that and put that in the final trailer, which is actually quite common. You might be hired to come in and solve a problem, and then they take your solution and give it to somebody else. That's quite common.
but I mean, did you have any run-ins with any famous directors or actors or anything like that, or were you completely kind of
No, I
separate
mean
from all of it?
I've seen them. I saw Tarantino. I met Rodriguez. Uh,
Robert
I
Rodriguez.
Yeah, I've met briefly Cameron in the hall. I mean, it's just you're doing your job.
Yeah.
You're not they're in the middle of what they're doing, and you are just passing through. You're just a cog in the machine.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've done stuff for fun, and I'd say I would love to do it again, but it's hard at my age to find. That's like the hardest part for me is just to if I could just find people to do stuff with, I would do it. But I'm in my 40s. It's hard to find people unless you're willing to pay them. Um, and so pretty much everything that I do now is pretty much just on my own, filming nature or whatever. You know what I mean? Going to Yosemite or whatever, the beach,
Hmm.
and um,
Have you tried like places like I don't know, Stage 32 or whatnot, reached out to people?
I really haven't. And like I have thought about, I have ideas for movies, but it's like I kind of just figure it's like I just wouldn't be able to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, I probably
Yeah.
potentially could, but to have a full-time job, it's like,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
yeah,
We
yeah,
shot we shot Monday through Friday or Sunday through Thursday. We shot 5-day weeks because that gave our actors and our crew 2 days to work their jobs. It's really hard because you're making these things for nothing. We paid the SAG ULB rate, ultra low budget rate, but you know, nobody wants to lose their job for a 4-week gig.
yeah. And
So
you did pay them, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We paid, we had insurance, we had permits. Um, we ate pretty good. Uh, that show ran really good. I mean, when you look at everything that movie is, it does not look like an $88,000 movie. It
No,
looks
it was
good.
really well done, and I could kind of tell that from like I watched the beginning and then I wrote you. I said I watched the beginning. I like it so far,
Yeah.
and I was really impressed with. You could just tell right from the beginning. Oh, this is well done. Everything looks good. And one thing I've noticed is that, and obviously the obvious answer is probably money. But one thing I've noticed is when I watch indie, not even indie movies, but kind of like really low budget kind of local indie movies or whatever, compared to the
Hmm.
big movies, you can see the difference. Like even in And it's I've always kind of like wondered what is that, and it's obviously money, and then like we said
Sure.
before, probably even actors. Obviously you get good actors, and it really does make a difference. But what would you say the big differences between a really a Hollywood movie, and then if I was just to go out or whoever, and what do you think the main difference is there? Like the
It's time and money. I
yeah
mean, money allows you time, and time makes it less crazy. We really cranked. We got a lot done every day. And I think without really compromising performance, you can go a lot faster than we did, but you're not going to get those performances. Those take a little bit of, we're going to stop right now, and this is what we're going to concentrate on. Um and yet I can't remember how many pages a day we were shooting. Um, it's been a while. I should look it up. But, you know, we kind of wrote the movie to exploit what little we could do. So if you break down the movie, right, 50% of the movie is in Dave's apartment. 25% is in the blood lab, which was actually a library. I just framed out the books. Um, And then that leaves 25% in exterior locations, right? Everything from parks to restaurants to, wherever we went. So in the first week and a half, 2 weeks, we'd shot 75% of the movie, right? We'd shot 50% in the apartment. We shot 25% in the blood lab. So really the last 2 weeks was all the external stuff. And then I did that based on, I cut a bunch of movies in the 80s. And it's funny, you can learn what to do from how people run their set. You can also learn what not to do. And one of the things I always thought was strong was when they had splinter crews, which is they'd take, the DP, sound, the director, and an actor, and they just jump in a car, go somewhere, shoot something, and come back. And that was really, really a powerful tool. So the first 2 weeks we shot in the apartment and the blood lab. The third week we shot in all the major locations. Elsa's coffee shop, the bowling alley, the Mexican restaurant, and on and on and on. And the last week, I rented a van. We only had whoever we needed that day in terms of actors, makeup, um, sound, me, and we would drive all over the greater Los Angeles area and knock off this shot, that shot, this shot. We might shoot three things in a day, but that's the stuff that when it's intercut through the movie makes it look bigger, right? The lighthouse. Um,
was that Long Beach?
right, that's Long Beach, right.
Yeah,
So
and then
so
you went. I think you went from I recognized it. You went from Long Beach and then Santa Monica,
right.
right at the was that Second Street Promenade or whatever? Or
Right, that was
yeah.
a stock shot because the day we were there was nobody.
Oh,
So
okay.
so when you watch that scene and all the people are walking around them, that's the crew walking in circles around the camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, we kind of broke it down that way so that even though on a checklist we didn't get a lot done that week, that's all the stuff that's in the trailers. And then I never shot the Dave's posse, who you always see in the Skype windows, because I knew that we were going to change things in editing and that I wanted the ability to rewrite their dialogue. And 3 months later, obviously, we had made changes. I made some changes in their dialogue. We cast the actors. We shot that stuff in a day. Um, and then we did all the movie in the movie stuff. And that took, did we do that? That took 2 days.
And this was the whole thing was done in a month in terms of the shooting and the acting.
Yeah, I would say basically 5 weeks.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's impressive. And then also, I know nothing about it, but you hear a lot about shooting, and you have to pay LA or whoever. I don't even really know if it's LA or if it's the restaurant. Did you have to pay these specific places to shoot in them, or did they
No,
allow you?
we paid some money to be in the bowling alley, and that was it. Everyone else gave us the locations for free. And I what I would do is I would actually offer to do something for them. So for example, that Mexican restaurant is La Cabanita in Montrose. They needed a new menu. So I got my light box and my Canon camera, and I actually shot all their menu pictures. So when you're looking at their menu, those are my photos. And so by doing that, they get something out of the deal, and I get to shoot in their restaurant. And so we shot when they were closed.
But then you hear a lot about too about like not filming in LA. They go to Canada or whatever because of I guess taxes or whatever. Like
Sure,
how
sure,
how does
sure.
that work out? Like do they tax you to make the movie? And I'd say how is that? That seems kind of weird to me that you have to pay
They
money
didn't.
just to
You mean
shoot in the
the
city.
L.A.?
Like
Well,
anywhere really.
we shot in permits. Yeah. Yeah, we got a permit. I think it was I think the permit at the time was only like $800. So that gave us the 2 weeks to shoot in LA. We shot off everything in LA on those 2 weeks. And then the rest of it was shot in Glendale, and they gave us a special permit for a low budget show. I think it was like $150. And then that allowed us to shoot in certain public areas. All this privately owned stuff, like the restaurant, when we were indoors, we didn't have to pay for any of that.
It
You
just
don't have to
seems
even pay
weird.
for a permit.
It seems weird to me that you have to pay just to shoot in a public space because I mean, I guess it obviously depends on the bigger the movie, the more you got to pay, but it's like if I want to do
Right.
something, I can just go out into the street and do it, but then you have to pay for it.
Sure.
Well, I don't even really get why they would even make you pay just to film in you know what I mean? Unless you have to like shut
Well,
stuff
because
down or something.
they want their money.
I know, but it
Yeah.
kind of seems
Well,
almost
that's the
like,
key.
but I mean, it's
That's
like,
the key. You're
but
not shutting things down, right? You know what the first question was every time we called? How many 5-ton trucks do you have? None. And I remember the permit office in LA was like, they thought I was lying, and they were like, "Well, how are you going to get to set?" I'm like, in my 2007 Honda Hybrid. Like, what do what do you want out of me, man? So once they realized like we were not going to block sideways or take up parking on the street, we were not a major crew, then it was like, oh, okay, we can cut you a deal and get you in and out.
I mean, what if you were just to go and it just like you just say, hey, like we're some small indie movie making a movie. I don't really understand
Well,
like you
like
said they want their money, but it's like,
we shot in the Mexican restaurant without a permit because that was on their property. We weren't blocking the sidewalk. We weren't
but
like,
I'm talking about public places. Like I'm able to go out and shoot in public, and there's no law against that. So it's like, why is there any difference between me doing it and putting it up on YouTube and you doing it? You're obviously making money off of Amazon, but it just seems like why? You know what I mean? Because they want their money, but it seems like there's no law
yeah,
separation between me and you. You know
practic
what I mean?
practically speaking, if you have a permit and you have a nosy passerby who's like, "Why are you guys filming here? What are you doing?" Yeah, you would not believe how many times I pulled out the permit and they just shut up and went away.
Yeah.
So it was worth every dime. The reason the permit's there is so that the city can make money. It's just a business tax. Um, do they care whether you go out and shoot content? Probably not. Um, Maybe in 5, 10 years they will. I mean, Hollywood's kind of collapsed, so maybe they'll look at that as a revenue stream. I don't know. But at the time, um, there was it wasn't that big a deal, but that permit saved my ass at least 3 times I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I just wonder if you were to do it without the permit. I'm not saying that you should have. I'm just saying if you just were like you just went out there, winged it, got the shot, left, would they ever even like really know? And I guess the main
No,
difference between me
no,
and
as
you,
long as the police didn't see you, as long as nobody complained, they wouldn't. That guerrilla filmmaking is, how most people do it.
yeah.
But like for example, the movie in the movie, we shot a lot of that at LAX.
By the
Um,
movie in the movie, do you mean when they're watching a movie, or what do you mean the movie in
yeah,
the
the
movie?
the the triple helix that they're watching on their
Okay.
phones and in the movie theater.
Yeah.
We shot half of that on LAX. You're not getting into LAX without a permit and insurance, and you can't get the insurance without the permit, and you can't get the permit without the insurance. So, we were able to get into certain locations with a permit and insurance that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Why LAX? It seems kind of like a difficult place to shoot that scene.
So back then, the writers' strike was impending, looked like it was going to happen. And what happens when that looks like it's going to happen is the studios start making every possible script they've got on a shelf. They want to bank as much material filmed as possible so that if the strike lasts, they can keep releasing stuff. So they were shooting everywhere, and we just couldn't get a location. Everything was booked, everything was taken. It was insane. And the only place that was free were two places. One was the spaceship set, and the other was LAX. And it turned out that the guy who is the film guy there said that we were the first crew to ever film there in those locations. And so we were able to shoot in those places and get a permit, whereas we just couldn't get anywhere else. And then it turned out the friggin' strike didn't even happen. So, if we had waited another month, everything would have been open to us.
The
But
strike kind
because
of
we shot
happened,
in
right?
LAX, huh? No, it
This
didn't happen.
I thought. I mean, there was something going on. Like there was a strike period, but it never actually kind of went through.
It never, yeah, the walkout never actually happened. They signed a deal at the last minute. I think literally the night before.
Okay. And then where did you shoot in LAX? Was it like a theater in LAX or something?
The LAX theme building, we shot there. You Do you see him run into that? I believe you do. Yeah, you see it very briefly when he runs in at the beginning of that scene. And then later, when they're on Planet X, when they're in the theater and they're watching on the Orange Planet, that is actually the end of the runway at LAX. So we had planes taking off over us. We had to reloop that whole scene, and I had to paint out a couple of airplanes taking off.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were
that's
we were literally
interesting.
right at the end of the runway.
Yeah, that's an interesting place to shoot that. And yeah, I guess you couldn't like really use any like actual just theaters or anything like that, like as opposed to LAX. LA,
Well, we couldn't get anywhere else. The whole town was shooting. Like originally, I think, the movie that he's working on in the in clocking is was it a spy movie? What is it, a comedy? Was it an action film? Was it a comic book movie? It just so happened that once that spaceship set came up, it was like, okay, it's a science fiction action movie, right? I wrote those scenes for the locations we could get.
okay.
Yeah,
And then
and the locations we could get were based on the whole town was shooting.
okay. And then in terms of what you're influenced by, what the movie was going for. But I like this movie because, I mean, obviously I'm not really that into normal rom-coms, but like if
Yeah,
I and you said this before I even watched it, but you said it's not like what you think. It's
right.
not necessary. I don't know how much you want me to give away, but like not necessarily the
We can
traditional
go into
ending.
we can go into spoiler territory as long as we announce that it's spoiler territory.
Okay, yeah. So I guess just a little bit of spoilers here. Or I won't say too much, but
Yeah,
it wasn't really necessarily what you expected by the end in terms of the happy ending.
right.
So I guess I think that's the main thing is like if it's going to be a rom-com, which I'm assuming that's what it would be, right? Is a rom-com
Yeah, I
or
mean, here's the thing. It's sort of a dramedy, but you can't really sell that. There is no dramedy when you get on Film Hub and you pick the genre, dramedy isn't one of them. So it's like, okay, it's a romantic comedy. Um, there's a lot of jokes in the movie, but they're kind of delivered as natural dialogue. They're not delivered as comedy lines. So when we had the initial read through of the script, the actors were delivering those lines like you would in a sitcom, with that cadence. Um, you know, whatever this relationship is half-assed and I need full-assed. She delivers that like you would normally. But if you delivered that in a rom-com, you'd go, this relationship is half-assed. I need full-assed, right? You would play to that comedy. So we call it a rom-com, but when when I started writing, I was watching a lot of John. I had bought the John Cassavetes box set, so I was watching a lot of John Cassavetes. I was watching a lot of mumblecore, early Duplass, early Swanberg.
I was going to
Um,
bring that up when you mentioned the
yeah,
early 2000s. Yeah,
right.
I forgot the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I really felt like, look, what can you afford to make? On a micro budget, you can afford story and character. So it's like, you know what? We'll make a character-based movie. And originally, it was much bigger story about Dave and his trolling. And it wasn't until we got the original assembly, we'd wrapped production. I had assembled all the footage, and it was 2 hours, 26 minutes, I think, 24 minutes. And we saw it and we're like, oh, we have chemistry between these two actors. Everything that isn't this chemistry has to go. And so we really reduced that whole component of the movie. We took out like 40, 45 minutes of the movie. Um,
Yeah, but 2 hours and 20 minutes would be pretty long for like,
right. Yeah, it was never going to be that length,
yeah,
but that's how much material we had.
yeah,
And we really felt like, look, this is a character movie like they used to make in the 70s, where you follow these characters and you become engaged with them and you follow them to the end of the story. And we're really happy with the way it turned out. I think there's like two really good plot twists in it that you don't see coming.
yeah.
Um, and there's
Which what
one
would you say
moment.
those are if
It's
you
the kitchen. It's the kitchen argument, and the when you see when you finally see Ileana's bedroom, where Dave's in her bedroom.
yeah, both those definitely got
Right.
me. Yeah, I didn't expect
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it's like some people hate that, but to me, it's like I love that in a movie where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
Oh no, I definitely like that.
Yeah.
And you did implant her earlier. It wasn't just like a random thing.
Right.
And then yeah. Um yeah, so in terms I know people don't really like to go over what their I don't know if you really want to go over what you're influenced by. I think it's kind of like a maybe like a hack question, but I am interested in that. So I don't know if like well you said Nick Cassavetes, which I don't even know if I've seen any of his. What are some? I know the name. Doesn't he have a son who directs too? Like
Right, that's Nick.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
Nick, and then
John
John.
and his wife Gina made a bunch of movies in the 70s.
What were some of
And
those movies? I know who he
oh,
is, but
damn, what are they? Shit. My favorite is Killing of a Chinese Bookie, but there's always a woman under the influence. I love Husbands, and Husbands is a really wacky, um, uneven movie, but it's just got great stuff in it. And
I
I was tearing through that box set, and I was watching all these mumblecore movies, so that was a
yeah,
huge
yeah, you mentioned
influence.
that too.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
also, I've been going to lunch with these people I worked with for like 15 years, and I was kind of stunned at how many of them get in their way of their own happiness. Like they'd meet somebody and they'd get in a relationship and they would just torpedo it without ever being aware that the things they were saying was like, dude, you're shooting a hole in that boat. What is wrong with you? And I
Yeah.
really was like, nobody's really making a movie about the times we're in. And to me, that was very much the times we were in, where we people are go out of their way to subvert their own happiness and their own relationships. It's not perfect enough. It's not, I can't be honest. And I just felt like, I really want to make a movie about these people I see that just they're just oblivious to their own self-destruction.
Yeah, well, one takeaway I took from it was, and yeah, you did answer those questions, and I just didn't, because yeah, I think it's mainly because I didn't know what the exactly what the movies were. But
Yeah.
one movie it kind of reminded me of, and I mean this in a any this is a good way. It was like that's the thing is I really actually can't think of many, but one of them would I guess would be Garden State, because it was kind of like more of a darker
Sure. Sure.
darker rom-com, which was a great movie, and then
Right.
really to be honest with you, I can't really think of actually many others. But one thing that I wanted to ask you about was there definitely was some quirkiness to it in terms of like that it was good. But it was like one thing that I kind of had a question about was that he just kind of seemed to be like an asshole the whole time. And I was kind of surprised at how well she was taking him being an asshole. And I know that does happen. That is realistic where the guy is
Yeah,
an
I
asshole.
think
But
so.
in my mind, I was kind of thinking, why is she putting up with any of this? She is in my opinion, she's kind of like better than this. But she put up with it. Not only did she put up with it, then by the end, it almost seems like she was the one who got fucked, and like she seemed to be bummed out, and he I guess didn't. So I was surprised by that. Is that just kind of like, and
No,
once
I
again,
think
that
that
is
was
super realistic. Actually, a ton of guys are assholes, and girls just put up with it. But it's like I
well,
was just
yeah, I
surprised
think
that she
I
took
think
it.
what they do is they sort of make excuses, right? There's all these extenuating circumstances. I'm really busy at work, baby. It's this isn't how it usually is. Oh, okay, okay, I understand. But it's like, look, this guy is not being attentive. I mean, look, the whole movie is about people who lie to other people, and they, but in the end, they're just lying to themselves, and those lies only hurt them. You know, if she was more honest, which she does in the end, that's the big breakthrough at the end is she becomes honest with herself. The whole world's open to her. And what I like about the end of Dave's arc is he's kind of at the same juncture where she was at the beginning of the movie. He could get his shit together, or he could keep continuing down this asshole road, you know? And I just feel like I like movies that have hope at the end, but I don't like movies that have a Hollywood hope. Everything's going to be great. Human beings are wonderful. I like it has a real sense of small human-sized hope at the end of the movie that she's taking a different path and that she's never going to be with somebody like him again.
And she's just gonna be
Spoiler, spoiler.
Yeah, that is good. And she's just going to be honest from,
Right.
yeah, that's the thing is it's hard to talk about movies without spoiling them, you know what I mean?
Right.
But she's just going to be honest. Um and then and that's the thing is really, even though what she did, which I'm not going to say, but what she did is an extreme way of being honest, but sometimes you're just better off doing that because you're going to get somebody who I guess just loves you for you and doesn't care about all your shit or whatever. And I know people like that, like you said, people who are like they're ruining it for themselves, by being assholes or lying or whatever. And it's like just find a good girl or find a good guy. It's not all about, especially in Hollywood, as you probably know, it's all about kind of like looks and like how's this guy gonna make me look or how's this girl gonna make me look. But really it's
Sure.
all about finding someone who's just honest and really just a good person, you know what I mean, as opposed
Right.
to some asshole. But one thing too with him was, even though he was an asshole, he still was a likable guy, and both of them, especially him, I think, was really likable and kind of almost like, oh, I could be friends with that guy type thing, kind of like a normal guy.
Right. Right. And I we tried real hard to make Dave sympathetic in the sense that he is struggling with the lies he tells through his work and his life. So if you watch the movie, Dave will often answer questions yes, no, no, yes. The first one is the truth, and then he starts to lie. So she'll ask him, blah, 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 and he'll say, yes, no, I didn't do that. He'll say, yeah, no. So he's always trying to be truthful and failing miserably. And we worked really hard to make sure that he wasn't just a snidely whiplash villain. That if he isn't a villain, he's the villain of his own life, right? He's subverting his own happiness constantly, um, through his own sense of I don't know. He just has a sense of a lack of self-esteem, which is her problem. She admits to. There's a great line she has in there. I say it's a great line because I wrote it, where she goes, "I took a I took an online quiz. I scored a 69." And and it's a funny line because 69 is terrible, but it just goes to show that she has a lot of self-esteem issues, which is why she's dating this guy. It's not working for her, but she just doesn't deep down think that she's worth better at that point in her life.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I saw this a lot, which I tried to kind of feather in there, which is I think the most dangerous person you can date is the person that you're not really attracted to them, but you don't really have anything else going on, so there's no reason not to date them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which is weird because you
Right.
would think somebody like her like would have other stuff going on, you know what I mean? But she
Right.
was a pretty girl, I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there are
So
tons of people like that, yeah.
yeah. So, I think that's like you can throw away your life on people like that. I can't tell you how many relationships I know where people have been dating for like 3 years and they're just kind of like, yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Like, what are you doing? So we tried to put a little bit of that. Again, it was all the people I knew, for the last 15 years before we made that movie. And some of the dialogue and some of the situations are from people I know. So we just try to make an old school character based indie. um some people like it, some people think it's the worst thing they've ever seen.
Have people actually told you that, or
Oh dude, I've had people stop talking to me, like
because of the movie?
literally. Yeah, yeah, they'll watch the movie and then like that's it, they'll never talk to me again.
They won't talk to you based off of a movie you made, like they
Yeah,
don't like it. I
yeah,
don't get why.
I think the movie stirs up a lot of emotions in some people that they don't know how to process. And so they blame the movie and they blame the character. I mean, they blame the director, you know.
And writer. You wrote it too.
Yeah, yeah, I co-wrote it. Yeah. I just feel like it's just weird. Like some of the reactions we've had, my wife and I just shake our heads and go, what is that about? You know?
Maybe
And
they
I
didn't
also
like
think,
the sad.
you're in your 40s too. It's I think it's a movie that's written to a certain age. If you're 23, you don't really know you don't really grok what's going on in the movie. When you're in your 40s, 30, late 30s, 40s, you've dated enough people, you've had enough experience in relationships that a lot of this stuff seems like, oh yeah, I recognize that
Yeah, well, I
behavior.
think a lot of it might be, I don't really know, but I don't know how much, if you, I don't know if you've done any online dating or,
Yeah, so I met my wife.
oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you maybe know how it, I don't know, maybe you know how it is, but for me, I did online dating and obviously they were doing online dating. And it's a weird, I don't know, maybe not for you, but for me, it was a weird world that I kind of got, I thrust myself into where it was like, I went through so many dates and a lot of them didn't work out, or most of them didn't work
Right.
out. And you kind of get to the point where you just feel kind of like defeated by it. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that it's online dating. You're kind of going out with people that you're meeting online, not like
Right.
naturally. So it's not going to work out. You probably don't have much in common, but you can kind of get to a point where you just feel defeated and you're like, I don't know, like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, I guess I'll just have fun with it, but it seems like everybody else is doing that. And towards the end, I kind of that's how I got. I was kind of like nihilistic towards it, where you just kind of
Right.
you know what I mean? And then eventually I found my
Yeah.
fiance and we do click, but even with her, it kind of took time to kind of get out of the online dating because you kind of get sucked into it if you're
Yeah,
on it long enough.
it's a world, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know how
Yeah.
long you were doing it for or what, but
I would do it. I'd meet somebody, we date for a while, then I do it. You know, the thing I learned was that when I started, I tried to write this profile that would appeal to most people. And I think that's a disaster. And what I came to realize was no, you write a profile as personal and specific as possible because the goal isn't to attract people, it's to scare everyone away so that all the people who are left are people who are interested in you. And I had great success with that. By the time I met my wife, my profile was so specific that it actually scared away all the people that I didn't want to waste time with. If that
yeah.
makes a kind of reverse Willy Wonka reverse logic there.
No, yeah. I mean, a lot of like feel like music. I listen to a lot of like indie music, like
Mhm.
Radiohead, and it's almost like they and Nirvana, and they like almost like intentionally, like really good. You said it before, like when you first listen to the album, not that into it. It takes like with Radiohead, with some of their albums, it took like 5 times listening to it before you like it. And I think that that's part of it is like, and then with Nirvana going from Nevermind to In Utero,
Sure.
they're intentionally kind of isolating their a lot of the probably a lot of their fan base, and it's like only the
Right.
ones that like stick with them are going to be the hardcore fans.
Right. Are you really our fan? We're going to test that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that this reminds me of, and I really like this, but this is kind of like more of the comedy world, is I was listening to a podcast recently, and basically the guy was making fun of a lot of like the new comedians, like Joe Rogan, and I don't know if you
Mhm.
know about that scene at all, but the comedy scene. But and he was basically saying people like Joe Rogan and like Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld, and those types of comedians aren't funny because everything that's happened to at this point. I mean, obviously, a lot of people think Jerry Seinfeld's funny, but these types of people who everything that's happened to them has been good. They've succeeded at everything. They've gotten to a point where like there's been no failure and there's nothing funny in that. Like when you get to the point where you're like a
Right.
billionaire or a millionaire, there's nothing funny. Same thing with I don't know if you are into like if you know who Louis C.K. is, but
Yeah.
he had a show called Louie where he went to go pitch a movie to a lady, and he basically just said, everything in the movie just goes bad. Basically, he starts it off kind of
Right.
good, and everything goes bad, and you could tell the lady, that whoever she was, an agent or whatever, was not into it. And it's like most people aren't into that, but I definitely am because it's reality. You know what I mean? It's like that happens. And that's probably maybe why people weren't maybe stopped talking to you, was because they don't like to face reality. They want a happy ending. And I also don't know how many, if you know people in the industry, like were these people in the industry or do you know people in the industry? Have you tried to kind of,
No,
no, these are just
no.
regular friends of yours.
Some friends, but I mean, we had a really bad screening at Orlando. We had a good screening at Studio City. Uh, and then there were other filmmakers I knew, and I would give them the same screening link, and they would just disappear. It was like I had no contact with these people anymore ever again.
That's really bizarre to not contact you because of the movie that you made. I mean, it's one thing if you
But
made like a,
here's the thing. The kind of movie that I made is not the kind of movie that most up and coming filmmakers are interested in. They're not really interested in character based movies with complex characters.
it's
They
like, what
really
are
want
they
to.
into then? You know what I
Well,
mean?
they want to make, a movie like David Fincher. They want to make a movie like, Christopher Nolan. They want to make that kind of thing. They want to make something very
Good luck.
Hollywood. And well, on this budget level, it's really fucking hard.
Yeah, to
So,
make a movie like Christopher Nolan or Fincher on this budget, yeah, it's like,
oh my God, we had such a nightmare in picking a colorist. So every time we'd meet a colorist, we'd give them a piece of the movie to work on, and they'd make it look like a David Fincher movie. And
dark
and
and like green, right?
yeah, and
Yeah,
I would be like, it's not that movie, man. And then they go,
yeah.
okay, let me fix it. And then they'd come back and it was still a David Fincher movie,
Oh,
and it was just like we went through, I think, four colorists before I finally went to the shop. It was a guy who did the color correction for Project Runway, I think. And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." And he dialed it in, and it was like, that's the movie you see now.
well, it was. I mean, I think it was pretty kind of, I would say normal, if that's the best word to use, like kind of like standard maybe, like color grading, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tried really hard in the lighting not to get arty.
Yeah,
It's not the movie we're making. We're not making a movie with film noir lighting. We're making a movie where the characters are talking. Let's see their face.
yeah,
Um, and so when you color correct that to look like a David Fincher movie, oh man, it looks terrible.
yeah. One thing I noticed was his. I don't know if you saw his last movie, The Killer,
Yeah,
but it got so dark in some of those scenes that like I could barely like, especially the fight scene. He like went into some guy's apartment and he was trying to,
yeah,
and they got into a fight. I could like barely see what was going on. I was like,
yeah,
it seems weird to me. That's like one thing that seems weird about a lot of Hollywood movies is like they want to go, like you said, they want to go with that dark look, which I'm into the dark look, but like when you literally can't see the people's faces, like you can't see
yeah.
faces,
I mean,
it's like what's the point?
we had the same complaint about the last big battle in Game of Thrones. I remember we were
Yeah,
watching our TV and we were like, I have no idea what's going on.
yeah.
Um, here's the thing.
I watched that on my phone actually,
When
and I
you were
was
in
like,
color, yeah,
I was
like
like,
you literally just see like blurs.
yeah,
Um, Here's the thing. When you are mixing and color correcting in Hollywood, you are mixing on $16,000 monitors in a room that's calibrated, and you can see that stuff.
yeah,
By the time it gets compressed and sent to your television, which is not calibrated, it's a disaster. Um, the same goes for sound. You know, you're in a theater that is absolutely tweaked perfectly with, 15, $20,000 speakers each, and it sounds wonderful. And then you compress it, send it on Netflix, and suddenly it's like, what's he saying? Where are the captions?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what happens. Now, back in the 80s when we would mix stuff, we would mix on the stage, but they'd roll out a friggin' TV. They would literally just buy a TV off the shelf, and they'd pipe the mix through that. And you'd make changes based on what it sounded like coming out of that TV. So you'd boost the audio, you'd boost the dialogue, you'd take down some of the explosions so that it didn't sound like shit when it hit VHS. And I don't think anybody really does that anymore. You know, we watch a lot of old movies and we don't need captions on the old ones. You know, I understand their dialogue. What did we just watch the other night? Oh, we watched Big Trouble in Little China. You can understand every word of dialogue. You don't need captions. To me, that's a good mix.
With Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've noticed is like we've just kind of left the subtitles on, and I don't
yeah,
know if it's because of that or I mean, it is easier to kind of for me to follow, but sometimes when it's just the audio, like when you're reading it and you're hearing it,
right.
it gets in more. But one thing I was wondering too was that I thought was a really interesting kind of thing that you did was that random like there's like a random German line in there, and then he's
Oh,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and it was like the humor. I actually like that style of humor, and because it's kind of like what the fuck was that? I just didn't. At first, I literally thought like it was a glitch or something, like it changed languages.
Yeah.
But then he said like I wish I understood that or whatever. But yeah, did you have a reason for that, or was that just kind of like to fuck with the audience? Or
Well, Jana's German.
oh, okay, I don't know if I picked up
So
on.
so I was like, well, what if we did like this confession? Because that's her confession. What if we did this in German, but he doesn't know what you're saying? And she was like, "Oh, that's great." So she took the lines and she converted them to German, and then we shot her mother later, so we were able to rewrite that dialogue so that that set you up for that. Now, here's what's funny. That plot twist where you realize he doesn't know what she's saying. When we screened that in Orlando, everyone gasped in horror. Like, oh my God, right?
Like they couldn't believe that
Then
you were doing it, or
oh my God, he doesn't know. He
oh
doesn't know, right? A month, month, 5 weeks later, when we're in Studio City, that same line comes, and that was the biggest laugh in the movie. The audience exploded. That
yeah.
was Blazing Saddles, cowboys farting around the campfire laugh. Huge. Same line, two different audiences, two completely different reactions. I to this day, I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that just goes to show it's kind of like audiences, everything like where
Right,
who's watching it is a big deal.
right. So
Um,
one person gasps, so everyone gasps. One person starts to laugh, everyone laughs.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it's
I definitely liked it. I like that kind of thing. It kind of throws you for a loop. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, and then also in terms of the actors, have they done anything? Have they done much else, or have you done much else in terms of directing, or are you going
No,
to?
I mean, I directed a bunch of second unit back in the 90s. Um, but I haven't done anything else but this movie. This movie has been a nightmare in post, just an absolute nightmare. And it took years. I remember we met some filmmakers, and my wife Eric and I, we were talking about their movie, which we really liked. And they said it took them 9 years to finish the movie. And we were like, thank God we didn't go 9 years. We haven't gone 9 years. Well, we did. I think we just went right over 9 years. So, it was just such a brutally long, stumbling experience. Um, it was like once I started having to remix it myself, it was like, do you ever see that Looney Tunes cartoon where uh, uh Sylvester the cat pulls at a thread and he just keeps pulling until suddenly all his fur disappears and he's
Yeah, I think I
furless?
probably have seen that
Yeah,
actually.
and that's exactly what it felt like. The more I worked on the sound, the more the whole thing just fell apart, and the more I had to do. And every single one of those was a cliff of how do I do this? I've never done this before. Like I literally could mix your movie tomorrow. You bring me your movie, I could mix it and you'd be happy with it. But at the time, I was like, how do I edit reverb? What? Huh?
Did you have to kind of like Google the answers, or how did you get the answers?
Yeah, I asked a lot of people on Reddit, few people on the Facebook groups. And now, damn, it just seems like all those groups are empty now. There's a fraction of the people that were on 10 years ago.
Of what group?
All the filmmaking groups, it just feels like lockdown. Everyone just kind of gave up on their dream
I was
and
gonna
they're
say,
not
yeah,
really.
I wonder why that is. Everyone,
I That's the only thing I can think of. Like before lockdown, all those groups were full of people, and now it just feels like there's very little posting, very little answers. I try to answer people when they have a question if I can help, but there's just not that many people anymore. But at the time, there were a lot of people, a lot of industry people, so I could ask specific questions. There were some kind people, one guy in Nashville, another guy in LA, where they took my project and they ran it through their machine and they gave me answers. Um, it's a lot to wrap your head around if you've never done it before.
yeah, it's a complicated thing. But I mean, I really honestly haven't put enough effort into it because I think that I kind of get to that point where, for one, I'm like, this just isn't. I'm not making a full $88,000 movie like you are. I'm just doing
Sure.
YouTube or Instagram. So I'm like, is this even worth it? But I've tried a little bit, and not only that, but then a lot of it kind of comes down to money too. Like, I mean, really now it should, with the iPhone, and like, I really should just go out and buy like $1,000. I really want to do it, to buy $1,000 MacBook and just actually do real stuff. But most of the stuff I do is just like on my phone, and um, I have tried to do a little bit of research in terms of mainly with color grading stuff, and it actually, a lot of the stuff seems more complicated than I really kind of like want to deal with, So I just end up kind of giving up or waiting until it gets easier, because I don't know if you've noticed, but it's becoming easier and easier. You know what I mean? To
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the technology, it's becoming easier and easier. Um,
Let me see if I can give you an answer here. Hold on.
when
I
did you
literally
guys? When did you guys start? You said it was 9 years. So when did you start the movie then? Was it like
I started writing in 2013. Um, and oh, here we go. Yeah, I just answered this. So if you go to YouTube, there's an account called DaVinci Master Key. It was formerly Goat's Eye View. It's an entire workbook by Daria Fasoon. She works for Black Magic now. It'll walk you through how to color correct. It's terrific. It's for version 12, but all the concepts are still the same.
what
Um,
is
uh,
it? What is it? Oh, is it for DaVinci Resolve or?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see,
So,
my
but
main
but
problem now is the computer. I just don't think can handle. Whenever I've tried anything with it, it's like
right, it
I
just
don't.
chokes.
And then not only that, but like you said, you need like a really good monitor. So I really
Right.
want. And then I'm kind of like, well, what's even the point if I'm just posting this to YouTube? Most of the people are just watching on their phone. So like,
Sure.
I was going to ask you earlier, does it even matter? Like, does color grading even matter if if you're just watching it on your phone? Like, do you almost
Well,
need one of
the
these? You know what I mean?
the concepts you learn, and then you can apply that to on the phone. in Resolve, in Premiere Pro, in Avid. They're the same there's the same way to approach color and brightness. So I would say if you try to learn a few of that, the other thing to do is get your library card and get on LinkedIn Learning for free. Um, the YouTube thing is free as well, and there's lots of tutorials on color grading there.
Yeah, like that's the thing is I know that I know there's the information on YouTube. It's more of just an issue of me actually buying the but the question more is like I'll I'll either call like there's this app like Blackmagic has an iPhone app
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure you may be able to answer this, but they have LUTs in there. So I'll use the LUT and
Sure.
it'll supposedly bake in the LUT to the ProRes log or whatever. So it
Yeah.
literally is filming with the LUT. But then when I look at that compared to like just using the normal video camera on the iPhone, I almost like don't even really notice the difference. And I even asked my fiance, and she's like, maybe it's just because you're viewing it on your iPhone, but it's almost I almost am not even able to see the difference if that makes sense between
Hmm.
color
Maybe
grading.
the light, maybe the light you're picking is really subtle.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm almost thinking that it might be an issue of just the fact that it's on my phone,
Yeah.
and it's like, is someone really going to notice something on their phone? I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah. I mean, that's a long conversation, and but yeah. So have they done anything else, the actors, since then, or in general?
Uh,
Are they?
I I don't believe so. I haven't been in contact with them in a long time. Uh, I know some of them are working, but a lot of them aren't. Lockdown put everything on hold, and then Hollywood kind of collapsed. There aren't a lot of films being made, and certainly not uh, uh, even low budget films like mine.
And I wanted to ask you about that. Why I've heard around that Hollywood has collapsed, but why do you think that is? Do you think AI has a lot to do with that? They're starting to use AI, or what's the
No,
issue?
it's streamers have taken over. They've got low pay rates. Theatrical has been dying for a long time. Budgets are out of control. Um, and the strikes happened at just the wrong time, because it was the strikes and COVID and it just became years of reduced production activity. And by the time it was like, okay, let's get back to work, the entire business um, paradigm of Hollywood had changed. What it's going to change into, I don't know. I don't think anybody does. But the business that I was part of from 1983 to when did I move here? 3 years ago. Um, it's not there anymore. When I moved to Hollywood in '83, you could drive down, you know, Santa Monica Boulevard, just throw resumes out the window. There was a ton of work, and now there's almost nothing.
Well, what's weird is a couple of years ago I had like I guess a movie critic guy come on, and at that time I wouldn't necessarily say that now, but at that time I said, movies aren't as good now as they were in the 90s. Like, and this was once again 2022, 2021. So I think after COVID, it just kind of was like dead.
Yeah,
But I don't know how you feel about what I just said, if you agree with that, or even before 90s. Um, but it seems like things from what I'm seeing on the streamers or whatever, it seems like things are kind of getting back to normal, and it seems like there's starting to be a lot more stuff.
I don't know. I
No.
mean, here's the thing, they're making a lot of that stuff outside of the country. So nobody in this country, I mean, it sounds like Atlanta has pretty much collapsed as well. So they're making these movies for nothing in, Ireland or Bulgaria. That's not money that's being returned into, when we talk about Hollywood, we're not just talking about the studios. We're talking about the coffee shops, the donut stores, the places for lunches, the places that rent equipments, the places that rent porta potties and C stands, and right? You're talking
Yeah.
about an entire city that's built around this industry. So if the industry leaves, well, then these businesses collapse. And when I was down in LA, I don't know, 2 months ago, 2 months ago, maybe three, and I was surprised at how many places I knew were just shuttered. It was really like, wow. So
Yeah, I actually
so
did.
Hollywood is changing, but nobody knows what it's changing into. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. I can tell you this. In the early 80s was when sampling came about, when they would start to sample people playing notes on a saxophone so they could play a saxophone on a keyboard. And they really thought they were going to get rid of musicians. They thought they were going to get rid of composers and they were going to save a ton of money. And for about 10 years, everyone tried to do that. And what you got was 10 years of 80s low budget movies with shitty scores. Until finally people realized, no, we still need musicians and that sampling is just a tool, not an end. And I feel the same way about AI. They're going to go through 10 years of thinking they're going to get rid of actors and crew. And in the end, it's just going to be a tool. Because the major problem with AI right now is you can't do iteration. And without iteration, you can't even use that for an effects pipeline.
What do you mean by iteration?
Okay, well, I got a talking beaver. Uh, okay, he comes in and he talks to some kids. All right, can you make his fur red? Okay, great. Now, next set of dailies. Oh, they're great. His fur's red. It's a little too red. And also, can you put a hat on him? And can you come from left to right? All of these changes you make constantly in visual effects. And we're just talking a specific example of visual effects. I cut the trailer for Fantastic Four, the one from like 20 years ago. And there's a shot of Johnny flying through the city. They did 37 iterations of that, trying to get the flame and the trail right. In it, that's actually really hard to do in AI. AI can give it to you, but if you want to start making very subtle changes in that, it's actually really hard and it's really complicated right now. So I think AI is going to end up burning itself out, but not after it really hurts the industry and chases a lot of people out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the type of thing, and I could be right. It could really go either way, but right now, obviously, they call it like AI slop, and it really is.
Right.
It really is AI slop. But I'm assuming that in the next 5, 10,
Sure.
15, 20 years, it's gonna get to. I mean, it's already like I'm using it, and this is the good side of it. I think is the fact that like people who don't have a ton of money can use it for what they're
Right.
trying to add to what they're trying to do. I don't think we should completely just do away with humans, but you can use it if you need like an extra picture or video. But right now, yeah, it's not great. It's some of the stuff I'm pretty impressed with, but I think in the next 10 years, I'm assuming that it's going to get better because it's like Google's behind it, OpenAI, Facebook, Meta.
Yeah,
So
I believe that too. In
yeah,
5 years, in 10 years, talk to me. I will, everything I just said will have been solved.
but
But
you
in
could be
that
right
time,
too. Yeah, well, yeah, you could be right. It could just never be able to, like you said, it could just be always kind of watered down like it was with the sampling, and the people just still really want the real thing. Who knows
right.
what's going to
Well,
happen, but
I just think that because AI is based on reference, right, you have to have something for it to copy.
yeah, Yeah.
It can give you something different looking with different parameters, but it has to have a base to start from.
Yeah.
In the end, that ultimately limits what its usefulness, right?
Yeah. No,
Like,
I totally agree. Yeah.
yeah, you need some spark of imagination sometimes that gives you the really cool shit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old guy saying old man things,
Yeah.
yelling at the kids on my lawn.
Yeah. I was saying that on a podcast before I had with somebody about ethical AI, where if everything it learns is it's learning from, music, it's learning from Mozart or Beethoven or whatever, even up to now, like Quentin Tarantino, everything it's learning off of is based off of something else, then everything it's going to put out, like you just said, is essentially based on something else, unless it gets to the point like we are,
Right.
where like humans are, where it's like you actually can come up with, it actually can come up with some new spark. But until then, yeah, it's all just replicating in a different way. Yeah.
Right. And
Um,
I've seen some amazing footage. I mean, I
yeah,
really
there
have
is
seen
some
like,
really good footage.
wow.
Yeah.
But in a reel on Instagram, that's not a 2-hour movie that I'm going to sit and be engaged by. We're still a ways away from that.
Yeah, exactly. So I have no clue. I don't know if you have any inside information on, is Netflix or any of these places already, how much are they already? I know some directors have already admitted to using, like even the guy who did the uh the Adrian Brody movie from last
The
year.
Brutalist, yeah.
Even the guy who did The Brutalist, which is just like, really crazy, like magnificent film, supposedly used AI. And yeah, I don't know if are they already kind of, like, how much is Netflix? Do you know? Are they already
I
kind of
have
cutting
n-
jobs
I
because of
have
it?
no idea. I don't
Yeah.
know anybody in Netflix. If I did, my movie would be on Netflix.
Yeah.
uh,
Um,
but I can, to me, that's the future of how I think AI will be used. You'll be using it to go in and specifically surgically fix certain parts of, you know, the the it's his accent, right? In the Brutalist that they fixed.
I think so, which is kind
Yes,
of weird to use. I guess maybe it's not that weird to use AI for an accent, but I was thinking it would be more of like a scene or something. But
right. But like, for example, there were lines in my movie that I cut together that I could have run through AI and it would have sounded a little bit more natural, but nobody notices, so what does it matter? I don't
yeah,
know.
I was
You
going to
know,
ask you, did you use any? I think they call it ADR, right? Did you do have to do
we
any like?
yeah, we used looping for specific scenes in the movie.
Okay.
So
Um,
so for example, the whole drug sequence, that's all looped. Right? Because I wanted to do something different. When people do drug sequences, what do? They use groovy shots and wide angle and moving the camera and sound effects. And so I thought, well, what if we go the other way? So we looped all that dialogue so that it's absolutely clean. And then all that's in the background is each little moment has a different sound, waves, leaves, wind and leaves, crackling fire. It's all subtle. So it gives that sequence its own feel, like they're not in this world. And it becomes an intimate scene instead of, ooh, they're doing drugs.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know how much longer you want to go, but
Yeah.
okay.
You
I
got
was
any
gonna
more
ask.
questions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about directors. Being a director, what do you think? What do you think separates? Well, first of all, who do you think are some of the best directors as examples? But then, what do you think separates the kind of like the best from the best?
I have been on sets where people are yelling and screaming and do it my way. And I've been on sets where nobody has an idea what they're doing, and it's all blobby and squishy, and it doesn't really work. I feel like for me, a lot of directing is trying to get the best out of people, even if they're bringing their worst side of their personality to the set. In a weird way, you're kind of like a good traffic cop. We're all going this way. Okay, now it's your turn. And if you have some taste, if you have some judgment for performance, then that's really what you're doing. You're trying to help the actors really give their best. Um, there were times when that was really easy. There were times when, you're leaning on production people or actors to do better. I really feel it's like you're just trying to get the best out of everybody, and that you as a director see the whole string. You know, there's a kind of a saying about actors, which everyone makes fun of. They have to be in the moment. But I actually feel like that's true for directors too. You have to be in the moment. You are creating this little tiny piece that's going to fit in a bigger piece, that's going to fit in a bigger piece, it's going to fit in a bigger piece. When you watch the first 3 minutes of the movie, look at all everywhere you go. We didn't shoot that at once. We shot all those little pieces over 4 weeks. But then when you cut it and put a piece of music, it feels unified, right? Yeah. So to me, it's like you have to have an idea what you want the movie to be, but you have to be receptive to what everyone's bringing to it. I know
Yeah.
that's gobbledygook, but that's how I approached it.
And is that for everybody or just or mainly the actors?
No, I think that's for everybody. A production designer or a makeup person might come up with a great idea, and let's do that. One of the one of the subtle things in the movie is that Dave is working long hours. And if you actually look at him, he's got makeup that makes him look like he hasn't slept in days. And then it's very specific when you see that. Um, but it's subtle, and that's something the makeup person came up with. And it's really effective.
Yeah.
So, I've worked with directors where it wasn't their idea, so they wouldn't listen to it.
Yeah, which I would imagine would be I would think that would be kind of like worse, maybe worst case scenario, not maybe worse, but bad to be like, that's not my idea, so I'm not going to do it. It seems like you should be able to take any input in and
Yeah, and the other thing too is you can write something that reads great. It reads great. These are great pages. And then they start acting it, and they're not great pages. It feels herky jerky. But if we delete this line, and if she says this and he says that, now suddenly it works. You have to be open to that. If you are, as a writer, you want everything to be exact, you're gonna come out with diminished results. Again, that's my experience, you know.
yeah,
And I've been on sets where it's like they don't want to hear shit from the actors, just say the line.
yeah. And then what do you think about like somebody like David Fincher's method where he supposedly does like 100 takes or whatever?
Right,
It
right.
almost seems like that would be so wearing on the actor that they would just be like fucking pissed off by, you know what I mean? Like it would almost like mind fuck them so much like they couldn't even do a good job by the 100th take. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, let's see. I don't think I would do that. But having said that, we did go 33 takes on one scene. So the scene where they're on the trail with the dog, her and the dog and Dave, and he asks, we should be an item. Um, we shot that 3 times because I couldn't get the tone. That's a real important scene. If he acts one way, the movie's over. If he acts another way, it just doesn't land. You need that scene where you believe he believes that, despite what you now know about him. Um, and that was really hard to find that tone. And we ended up shooting that, you know, we shot it, we didn't get it. We shot it again, we didn't get it. We shot it again, we got it. And I'm really happy with that performance in the movie. It's a really uh pivotal scene, even though you would never think that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know much, but I would imagine that the obviously attention to detail is important, but then also um like discipline and like not giving up. Like you said, you took so long for you to get
Yeah.
through it, but you stuck with it. And I think that just from
Oh, trust me, I wanted to give up.
yeah, and I was actually gonna
Yeah.
ask you like at any point where you just like fuck this, it's like not even worth
Oh,
it.
are
You know
you
what I
kidding?
mean?
My wife stopped me from taking a hammer to the computer at one point. I was just like, I can't
Yeah,
do this anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, it was like right out of a friggin' Mel Brooks comedy. I literally picked up a hammer and I was just gonna swing at it, and she just grabbed my arm and went, "Just walk away."
yeah. You almost could have filmed yourself, you know, and turned that
Yeah,
into
yeah,
a movie or whatever,
yeah.
or a YouTube video.
No, it was unbelievably painful experience. Um, there were a couple of things I did that I'm really proud of, but I would never do again. Like I would never have that many screens, computer, phone. Like the
Oh,
plating of
like
that was,
the pop-ups with the texting, like
yeah. There's an enormous amount of VFX in the movie that you just don't think of as VFX. You just think they're real, and it really was a lot of time and effort. I wouldn't do that again. I'd try to make a no screens policy. And now that I've learned how to mix, it's like, yeah, I could mix the movie. I could have mixed the movie. I could mix a movie now in a couple of weeks, whereas, it took me months and years.
but you still don't want to make another one. Like are you just
No, I
totally
do.
done at this
I have
point,
a
or
really good idea for another movie, and I was writing it and then I dropped it because over the years, it sounds like all I did for years was work on this movie, but there were times when it's like, oh no, we went to Japan. Oh no, we went to a wedding. Oh, I was in the hospital for a while, So, there were chunks of time where I wasn't working on the movie. And that's probably how I was able to finish it because I was able to take a break.
and it seems like you could do that now. It seems like if I was to make a movie, I would probably just do it like that, like do it in chunks as opposed to just
Right.
all in one. Because as long as you are able to do that, because that way you can go about your life. It's like it's not like a all-consuming thing. But then at the same time, you could say, well, it took you
Yeah,
9 years or whatever.
there was some guy in Facebook years ago. I haven't seen him post forever, but he was doing this, what he called folk film, and he was shooting on weekends, so he would shoot Saturday and Sunday for like, I don't know, a month and a half, and he would have a feature at the end of it. And I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I mean, our movie is pretty ambitious for what we spent. When you consider we had 90% of the movie shot for $39,000 the first 4 weeks, that's pretty cheap. But when you look at what we shot all over the LA Basin area, it's pretty ambitious for that amount of money. So yeah, you could approach it as like, look, we're going to shoot chunks every weekend and we're going to slowly build this thing. And the other thing you'll do by that way is as you're putting it together, you start to realize what you don't need to do anymore and maybe what you do need to do. And that was one of the interesting things I found. was that there was actually an original ending to Dave's story. And the more we shot, the more I realized, oh, we don't need to shoot that. And we never did. There was like another 3 pages, I think, that wrapped him up. And
What
and
was
I
that
was
ending?
well, the ending was basically he doesn't get paid. He's back in his apartment. He's back where he was at the beginning, and one of his crew is dating a girl and asking for advice, and he tells the guy what to do, what not to do in a relationship. And basically, you got the sense that he had learned his lesson, that he had, you know, uh, had some higher awareness of the way he'd behaved. But the more we shot the movie and the more the character became actualized, the more I was like, that doesn't ring true. That's not Dave. Dave's story ends here. He gets fucked and he's at a decision point. Um, and that's fitting, you know. One of the things you do is you write a character, but then the actors start to actualize it. And then as you're filming, you start to realize, oh, this character's this, that character's that. They're more like this. And it gives you a different way to look at how to direct it and how to shoot it. And you start to realize we're missing this. Let's add this. There's a lot of subconscious stuff that goes on when you're making a movie. It's kind of crazy. You think it's a battle plan, and it is. You need that battle plan to move forward. But while you're doing it, there's actually a lot of stuff that's just bubbling up in your head and the actors' heads. Hell, the sound guy will come up with a good idea. And
Yeah.
and it's all because it's actually being built in front of you, and you're able to now custom tailor your creative direction.
Yeah, one of the coolest things about, I mean, I think this is true, but also in some cases not true. But one of the cool things about art is, for one of the cool things about art is I've kind of personally come to the realization that it's all subjective. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like, even though I really do want something to be good or bad, if I do something, I want it to be good.
Right.
And there is some stuff that is bad. I've kind of come to the realization as far as my own art that it's like it doesn't really matter whether it's good or bad. It's just get it out there. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it does matter if it's like you don't want to put out a shit movie, but like, and I'm not talking about, I'm not making movies, so I'm doing YouTube, whatever, Instagram, TikToks. Um, and if it's bad, it's bad. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't take me that long to post it on there. But then, and that's kind of like a weird thing to be like, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, but it's all subjective. So somebody might like this, somebody might not, and that's fine. But then also how things evolve when, like you said, when you're doing the art, depending on the day, depending on the clouds, depending,
Yeah.
everything kind of, it becomes this like consciousness type thing where stream of consciousness where like you're just going with it. And obviously, like you said, you have the main thing is that you have the written story, but it might
Right.
change. It might change. It might evolve, and that's fine. And that, I think that's awesome when something happens, some spark happens, and you thought you were going to go this
Yeah.
way, and it goes that way. And I think that's maybe part of the human intervention as opposed to the AI. And AI is, I'm assuming, is
Right.
extremely strict and it has to follow these rules. Humans,
Sure.
like you can make a mistake and then end up leaving that in. You know what I mean? And I think that's great.
Right.
But
I feel like
yeah. One thing real
having
quick, I
made
was
this
sorry.
movie, yeah.
I
Go
was
ahead.
real quick. I was gonna say, I don't want to forget. I was gonna say too about the character. Um, I feel like Dave's character. It's not. I don't. I personally didn't really. Maybe he is a bad guy, but I didn't really think that he was a good or bad guy. More like
Right.
just kind of aloof and careless and
Yeah.
carefree. Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's an absolutely perfect description. He's
yeah.
careless. He's careless with himself. He's careless with other people. He thinks that he can put these lies into the universe and it won't have any effect on him. They're both
Which is
lying at their
that is kind of
jobs.
bad, but
Right,
that in
right.
line is bad.
But
But yeah,
but it affects his own personal life,
Yeah,
this viewpoint, right? She, on the other hand, is lying at her job, but she's trying to do right by it,
yeah,
right? She's trying to get this guy his job back
yeah,
because he's been fired by her crazy boss. So they're both lying at their work, but one's trying to lie for the good, and one is thinking they can escape the bad.
yeah,
I have to say, having made this movie, I feel, and I know other filmmakers feel this way too. I feel like I climbed Mount Everest, and how do I communicate to people what that means unless you climb Mount Everest?
yeah,
I just feel like you get to the end of this, and I'm a different person. I'm a different artist. I'm a different spirit. I'm not the person I was when I started this. And I just find that, like you were saying, who cares if it's good or bad? The journey is the destination, and um, who knew the destination would be myself? That this would have this enormous change in my outlook on the world and on myself. My wife and I learned making this movie that we are capable of so much more than we ever thought we were. We had no idea how much we could accomplish in this life, and that all those limitations were self-imposed. We had no idea. And we look at this movie and it's like, how did we do that? Like, I look at this movie and it plays like a movie. It plays like a real character-based drama, and I don't see the tears or the time I had the hammer in my hand or the 4 hours of sleep a night, exhaustion. It's like, no, it's its own thing now. And I I feel equal parts completely bonded with it and utterly aloof from it in a way I can't really explain.
yeah. And yeah, I think I mean it is like a cheesy thing to say, but it's like I really the older I get, like the more I kind of realize that I you are capable of doing, or at least I think that I am capable of doing what I want to do. It's just a matter of actually doing it. And like you did it with this movie, and for me, it's just if I want to make a movie or whatever it is that I want to do, which I do, or I would want to make a movie, but I mean, obviously, there's got to be some sort of like realistic expectation. Like I can't go and be like a basketball player, but if I want
Right.
to make a movie or like even if it just goes on YouTube or whatever, not Netflix, like I can make a movie and put it on YouTube. It's just a matter of whether or not I want to do that. And that was one thing I wanted to ask you too. I've had a couple people on who have one guy was making a short, another two ladies were making they made a movie in LA too. And I've had a couple people on. It's like I'm kind of surprised at this point. Like I think that if I was gonna make a movie, I think that at this point, I think that I would almost go more YouTube based than Netflix because um there's a lot of people on YouTube who like this. I think that people want to make a real movie and they want to get it out there in the theater or whatever, and I get that or a
Right.
film. But it's like I don't know. It almost seems like the better route to go at this point because, like you said, Hollywood's dying is to put it up on YouTube or something, or even make shorts and put them up on Instagram or TikTok. Because if it's good enough, like
I,
you'll make money on there. Like
it's
you know what I
a
mean?
it's a it's a good question. I mean, look, we never cared about getting in a theater. We always knew this movie would live on streaming. But when we started making it, they were paying 32 cents a stream. By the time we started streaming, they're down to a penny or
Yeah,
less. And you probably can make more money posting it on YouTube and getting people watching it than, I mean, 287 bucks in a year, that's pathetic. I mean, that's, you know, maybe 150, 200,000 minutes streamed, and I made 287 bucks, but I made a couple of thousand selling discs, right? So
But did you?
Like,
Sorry to cut you off, but did you make
yeah.
more than you spent? Like you spent 88,000. Did you?
No, no, no,
No.
no.
So the money you gave me was you're still at a loss, basically.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I may never see a profit from this movie in my lifetime.
And then I cut you off, but I wanted to ask you real quick
Yeah.
too. How did you come up with the money? Was it your own money, or did you ever get some
It was my
backing?
own money. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had made a shit ton of money in you know, cutting trailers, and I had this money, and it was just kind of like you know, you just get to a point in your life where it's like, do I want to roll the dice and do this, or can I live with not doing this? And my answer was, I can't live with, you know, I don't want to die and go, I wish I would have.
Yeah, I wish I would have been a movie.
Yeah, so I took I had some investments, I cashed them in, and I just paid for it.
Yeah, but I cut you off, so I think I don't know if
No,
you
it's all
forgot,
right.
or I don't know if you forgot what you were
Oh, I have
saying.
no idea. I was probably ranting and raving.
I just I
Boo!
just wanted. I remember that I wanted to ask you that. Oh yeah, it was about the YouTube thing, going the YouTube route as
Yeah, yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
yeah.
I think you could probably, if you could get enough people cycling through it, um, it's really hard now because social media doesn't allow you to really advertise your film like it did 10 years ago. But if you could do that somehow, you know, YouTube is going to pay you more in the end than, you know, the streamers do now,
Yeah. And
you
it's like
know.
you have the thing with YouTube that's nice too is like you have full control. So I mean, I obviously understand with you, you don't want to put out the movie as
Right.
one, but you don't necessarily have to do just one long movie. You could do like shorts. You could do whatever you want, pretty
Sure,
much.
absolutely, you know.
And so when
I
people
mean,
are telling me like, "Oh, we're making this movie and it cost us, this much money," and it was just, I'm like, I don't know. It's like it almost seems like better in terms of money. I understand if you really want to make a film, but it just seems like in terms of money, you're almost better off just going like the social media route. And if you're good enough, like like you said, you'll make money on YouTube
right.
or any of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
mean, if
anyway,
you
yeah.
can engage, I mean, some of these you know, ongoing episodics, you know, they're like 2 or 3 minutes long,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then,
Just
you
keep it
know,
going.
and they just keep it going. But, you
Yeah.
know, that's no different than their serial movies from the 40s. You know, they'd have a little short, like Cody, right? It's like what Raiders of the Lost Ark was based on. Those little short films, action adventure, and then they have a cliffhanger, and you'd have to come back next week and see the next installment. It's no different than that.
Yeah.
So, can you get something that's engaging? I've seen some really great stuff by people, really inventive. But I don't know if they're making any money at it or whatnot. That
Yeah.
I hope they are, you know.
I think the reason I think that is because I would love to make a movie, but I just don't have the time or money. So it's like if I was to do it, I would just do exactly that and make 2 or 3 minute movies or whatever you want to call them at a time. And then yeah, you just keep. It's almost like the same model as I don't know if you remember
Hmm.
that app that came out like during COVID that bombed it, but it was exactly I think it was 10-minute shorts like in succession
Right.
or what was that called? It was
Oh, well, it started with a Q, didn't it?
yeah, QB or something like that. Like
Yeah, yeah,
and it was a
yeah.
big name guy who was behind it, but
Yeah. It was it Ovitz?
what?
Was it Mike Ovitz?
I don't
I forget, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
basically
that was
that.
the beginning of TikTok, really,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
idea where you would just have these little fictional things that were a couple of seconds long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that way it's like if you're doing it good enough, like I'm telling you, you could like you're probably talented enough or you are talented enough to where you could do that. Like you could, but I don't know if you want to do it. I'm just saying, like, if you're talented, you can make these 3 minute shorts and
Right.
and as opposed to making some long movie. At the same time, I totally understand wanting to make a long movie, but um, yeah. So lastly, I'm curious to, like you said, Hollywood's kind of dying, and like it is. Um,
Hollywood is in uh, a intense transition. Like it's not going to die and go away, but I don't know what it's going to be, and I don't think anybody does. I
yeah.
don't know what's on the other side of this, and I don't. There's certainly not a job for me. Um, is there going to be the kind of work when I started? I doubt it, but I I I don't know. It's so weird. I look at that industry. I have a buddy who lives up here, and he's a VFX guy, and he did, Star Wars and Marvel and all those things. And he feels the same way. He just looks at Hollywood right now, and he's just baffled by what's happened to it.
Well, it's
Um,
weird because, like I was saying, like they are still making. You said that maybe they're like doing them outside of the country, but they are still making those like Star Wars and
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they're
like
making big tentpole movies, but if you go get an ad for movies from 1983, the choice I had on a Friday night was stunning. Do you want to go see Star Trek 2 or do you want to see Lethal Weapon? You know what I mean? You don't
yeah.
have that anymore.
Well, why do you think
It's
they're going um to different countries? Like, is California just charging too much money, or Atlanta, or like it seems like what why
uh
it seems like they need to make it more
it's
affordable.
pay rates and it's a lot of tax buybacks,
Yeah,
tax incentives. I mean, you're saving 20, 30 million in taxes by filming in Bulgaria. I'm just pulling a name out of my ass. Um,
which is
but
where it
that's,
sounds like where like Robert Eggers made Nosferatu or Set
yeah,
Baby
I know
Young.
they make a lot of movies there. When I worked at Corman, they were shooting in Bulgaria. He was one of the first people there using um, their stages. It's just who knows where it's going. I, I hear people talk about, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. It's like I don't think anybody does.
Yeah,
It's such a reset of what we know it has always been. How is that? I I'm baffled.
yeah. Well, and
Show me a movie star under the age of 35.
yeah, well, that's
I
what I was just gonna
you
say.
know
It almost seems like movie stars are almost getting to the point where like they don't even matter. Like they're not as big as they used to be. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio is still huge, but like any of those guys, it seems like they're just not as big as they movie stars just aren't as big as they once were. They're obviously still really big, but I think a lot of it has to do with like social media and kids are just instead of going to the movie, they're on their phone watching YouTube or TikTok or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't know. When I grew up, I didn't care about uh Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Those were movie stars of my parents. To me, I wasn't interested. So I don't like, what do my kids think when they see, I remember in Deadpool, uh, uh when Brad Pitt's cameo comes on, and they didn't know why people were laughing, you know, like they didn't get who he was.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
actually
just
didn't even. I saw the first one, but I think that's not the first one, right?
this maybe it's the second one I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see
Um
it, but yeah,
but it's just maybe it's generational. I don't know, man. Like it is head shaking to me what has happened to Hollywood. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like
I mean,
that
I
was
think that
one
I
of
think
the
that it's
biggest businesses in what is that, in aerospace, are the two big businesses in LA, right?
yeah, I think that it's mainly like you said, the streamers they're not paying as much. I mean, it's like spot. It's just like it's the same thing with music. Like Spotify, I think has like ruined music in the
Yeah,
same
right.
way, where like they're
Right.
just not paying.
Nobody's getting paid anymore. You know, I
Yeah,
used to get paid, I think, a penny or 2 cents or something every time radio played. And now you're getting like, what is it, 0.008 or something a cent, or 0.08? Like, it's ridiculous how little you get paid for your song on Spotify.
yeah. But in terms of, I was gonna say Hollywood might be dying or or whatever, but I was gonna say who are some of like when I watch a good movie and I don't see them like you said I don't really see them much anymore. I feel like movies used to be better. It's a good or even a TV show. Like it's a good feeling and I feel like so much of now
Mhm.
they're making bullshit or whatever they are making is kind of like tends to
Right.
be bullshit. Um who do you feel like are some of the guys, the directors or even the movies and this could be even modern or older that like you're really just really impressed with how the movie was made. Like some of the movies where you're like, oh wow, like that just was a really good movie. Like
Shit, I don't know. Fuck. I wish you would have asked me that before we came on. I guarantee the minute we hang up, three names will pop in my head. God damn. I mean, there's the obvious ones, right? The big name obvious ones. I'm trying to think of I've been turned on by all these people that I've been watching on all these old movies. You know, I just watched The Sting. My wife had never seen it, so we got it on DVD. And I think George Roy Hill's one of the great unsung American directors. But I'm trying to think of who's new. God damn.
it really doesn't necessarily have to be new, but
The guy who made Weapons and
yeah,
Barbarian, like, damn, you watch those movies and it's like that motherfucker knows what he's doing,
yeah. I
you
was
know?
actually gonna. I had a guy on talking about horror movies before, and I was saying, and to be honest with you, I don't even think this he's that smart. But when you're watching his, especially Weapons, when you're watching Weapons, the main thing that I liked about Barbarian was only the fact that they changed it midway through. I didn't really like the first half. I thought that was going to be
Yeah.
stupid, but I liked the change or whatever. But with Weapons, when you're watching it, you can tell like this guy's smarter than me. Like you know what I mean? It's like this direct, not smarter than me, but like
Right.
it has a rhythm to it, and it's like the way that he did it and everything. It's like oh, like this is just making sense or whatever. And you don't get that too often. Quentin Tarantino, like you said, the regular guys. Quentin Tarantino, I feel like did that with all his movies, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where like it's just like one step ahead, but you don't get that too often now.
Right.
Obviously, probably somebody like Stanley Kubrick was like that back in the day. But yeah, are there any others? Mainly just that guy, weapons.
Yeah, that's just the guy who pops into my mind right now. Damn.
What
I
about like
know
some?
I'm gonna think of 50 people the minute we hang up.
Or what do you
Damn.
think about somebody like Robert Eggers or Hereditary, like
Yeah.
Ari Aster? Like, did you
Oh,
watch Ari
he's
Aster's?
great.
Yeah,
He's great. I thought Midsummer was incredible. And I think so much about um what's the Beau is Afraid.
yeah,
That's one of the most mind-blowing movies I've ever seen
crazy.
that really feels like, oh, this is what it's like to dream,
Yeah,
right? The transition between scenes is like, oh yeah, this is how you get from the kitchen to a supermarket in a dream.
yeah,
I really, really, really like that movie.
yeah. I mean, to
There's
be
another
honest with you,
movie by Inarritu that's on Netflix called
oh yeah,
Bardo, and that's another one where, holy shit, this feels like a fucking dream. This is weird.
he's
Um,
another director that's
yeah,
amazing. But I didn't even finish that movie just because it had no it had no plot. It was just kind of like a
yeah,
rolling
yeah. It's
and
almost like one of those old French films that's 3.5 hours long. You just got to
yeah,
endure it. But I really was amazed how that movie almost plays like one shot.
Yeah, those one
but
shot movies are pretty crazy.
yeah, it just it knows it has such a sense of how you get from one part of a dream to another part of a dream. You know,
Yeah.
when you're dreaming, you're at work and you're having this conversation, and then you exit into the lunchroom and suddenly somebody from high school is there. Do you know what I mean? It had that feeling. I really, really thought that movie was impressive. But he's an established director. I'm trying to think of people like that, are up and coming and God damn. Oh, curse you. I'll be up at 2 in the morning when it hits me.
Yeah, like you mentioned I'm forgetting the name of it again, but like the early 2000s something core or something, the group of like they were like
Mumblecore, yeah, yeah, yeah.
mumblecore. I don't really know too much about that, but were there any movies from that period that were like really just really well done on like a low budget or like that I may have missed? Would you say like Lena Dunham's part of that group? I
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, what was her movie?
Oh, I
Um,
know I mean she obviously did Girls
Small
before.
Chairs. What was that?
Yeah, something Tiny
Um,
Furniture.
Tiny Furniture. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great movie. Funny Ha Ha by Andrew Bujalski. I'm a huge fan of uh, Swanberg. I really liked Hannah takes the stairs. Um, Drinking buddies. In fact, there's a little bit of Hannah I ripped off for Clucking the Tea. Um, and I really liked the early Duplass brothers. They made a movie. I think it was their second movie, and it really bombed. But it's really good called Baghead, and it's actually quite scary. I really enjoyed that too. And I was watching a lot of Tyler Perry movies too, and I think his movies are really terrific.
That's an interesting one. I wouldn't think Tyler Perry would be on the list.
Yeah, I he when I was in Hong Kong in like '89, that's when I first got exposed to Hong Kong movies. And Hong Kong movies don't have a problem. Uh, here's our romance scene, here's our action scene, here's our drama scene, here's another action scene. Oh, we're back to the romance. Everybody sort of understands that it's okay if we change tones because that's what the scene is about. And he does the same thing in his movies. He doesn't have any problem like here's a really cute romance scene and then we're going to go to a high comedy scene and then we're going to go to a scary drama scene where someone tries to drown their ex-husband in a bathtub. And I really thought like, oh, these are very much like those Hong Kong movies. And he did a movie called Medea Goes to Jail. But
Yeah.
on DVD, there's two versions. One's the theatrical version, and then the other one is a recording of the original play. And it's the same story, completely different. And it's a really good thing to watch because you can see how somebody he wrote the play, but he knew he had to translate that to a different medium, which is movies. And so he did. And it's interesting to watch those two things and go, oh, that's how you do it. You take this thing was written for the stage, and this is how you expand it into, a comedy film. I found that really interesting too. So, I was watching all these movies and, I really, really was turned on by them. And also, they're all character based. They're all small. And if you do that instead of try to make like a zombie movie or monster movie, it's a little bit more attainable. It's easier,
Yeah.
right? I need good pages, I need good actors. It almost doesn't matter if it's not lit perfectly.
Yeah, what
It'll work.
yeah, one thing that I thought earlier when we were talking about it was like I think it's all comes down to the idea and obviously the story. You got to like actually write, put the pen to paper and write the story. But if you can come up, in my opinion, if you can just come up with a really good idea, and then obviously to make a movie you have to execute it, which is a lot more. But I feel like you can do a really, if you can come up with a really good cheap idea, you can, it's attainable. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
I feel like some people, like you said, the Duplass brothers, or even some of the people who are doing stuff on YouTube, it's like for, you can almost do on no, but you could do it on no budget for YouTube. It's not going to be a
right,
movie, but as long as the idea is good enough, people will like it.
right,
And obviously the cheaper the idea, the better. Like, you're not going to be able to make a Marvel movie, but maybe you can make like a dialogue driven movie, and
right. Exactly.
mostly in one room or whatever.
Dialogue, character, the cheapest things you can do, right?
Yeah.
And
And then
like what's clocking the tea, right? Think about it. It's people talking, and then they go somewhere else to talk,
yeah,
and then they go somewhere else to talk, and then they go somewhere else to talk, right?
yeah.
It's a talking movie,
And it's good dialogue, and obviously you need good dialogue, but
right?
it doesn't cost a lot of money to write good dialogue. You know what I mean? You just have to
Right.
be able
It's just
to
time,
do it. Time, yeah.
right? Right. And also, I'm a big believer in a read through.
What do you mean by like going through
Well,
the
we got a
scene
bunch
with
of
the?
actors and I recorded it and we read through the whole script that I had and I made massive, not massive changes, but I made some pretty big changes. And that was what we went to camera with. And just hearing people perform it, it was like, oh yeah, that dialogue's no good. Oh, that scene's in the wrong place. Oh, we don't need that. Whereas if I hadn't done that, we would have shot all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then has like Joe Swanberg, has he made any movies recently? Like I've heard his name, but like I can't really think of anything recent. But is that
He
all?
did some gambling movie with Jake Johnson that I saw on Netflix. I forget what it's called. It's actually a really solid movie.
Oh, that's
And then I
interesting
think
because I like gambling movies. Is it the one with Emil Hirsch in it or no?
he's Emil Hirsch. Let me see.
I know Emil Hirsch was in
Luckily
one
I
where
have
he
a
was.
computer and I can look it up.
Yeah, I was looking up, or
And
I saw.
he has a TV show on Netflix too.
What is that?
Isn't it easy? I saw the first season. I think it went out. There he
I'll have to
is.
check out.
Let's
I'll
see.
have to check out his stuff. What about the guy who did? He did like the Nest, and I think recently he did like that wrestler movie. I feel like he was part of this group.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's weird. Let's see. He's making an Alaskan romantic dramedy. Build the Wall. Yeah, he's been working in TV. Win It All is the one I'm talking about.
Okay, I
It's
actually
called,
might check that one out. Because I like
yeah, it's
gambling
good.
movies.
Yeah, it's good.
That was part of the reason why I watched that Ballad of a Small Player movie, is because I like gambling movies.
Let's Build the Wall. I never even heard of that.
It sounds like maybe he's
Ooh.
like making fun of the build the wall thing or something. I don't know.
No, it's somebody building a stone wall for his house. Oh,
Oh,
I've
it's
watched
not
that.
like political.
No, not that wall.
um, yeah, do you know the guy who did like the Nest, and he did like the recent wrestler movie with like I feel like he was part of this group, and he's turned into like more of like a serious director.
Oh no, are you talking about
The Golden Eagle, or
Safdie,
not Safdie Brothers. I am in I Safdie Brothers
the
are one,
Iron Claw?
the Iron Claw, exactly.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, well, I wasn't super into, but I'm not like really big into the subject.
Yeah,
But what was his name? Was he part of that mumblecore group?
I don't
You know what I'm
know.
talking
That's the
about?
first thing I've seen of him.
Oh, okay. The only reason I
Yeah.
asked is because I heard him on Brett Easton Ellis podcast, and he was like talking about that mumblecore group. So what about writers, real quick? Are there any good writers to check out? Like I like Brett Easton Ellis. but he's like one of the only guys I can think of who's like a writer for the most part. That are there any other
Trying to
guys
find
to check out?
Sean Durkin did
Sean
Playing
Durkin,
Paul. Let's
yeah,
see. What else did he do? The Nest. Oh, Mary Marcy May Marlene.
that was
Oh
good. Yeah,
wow.
that cult
Yeah.
movie.
The Nest I've not seen. That looks good. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
All right. No, I feel like the same way with the directors.
as the writers.
Here's the thing. I'm not, I don't really fan over anybody anymore. I feel like I grew out of that years ago. I
Yeah,
like good.
I'm
I
big
like,
into.
yeah, I'm into good. If it's
Yeah,
good, I don't care what genre it is. Like I'm not really a horror guy, but I liked Barbarian and Weapons,
yeah,
right? When it's done well, I'm in.
yeah,
So I like, to me, that's just like, does it work for me? Great, I'm in.
yeah.
So, and I've seen some great writing. I've seen some great directing. I've seen some great performances. There's lots of good stuff out there. I just feel like we don't have that old school paradigm of filmmaker critic distribution. So there's nobody to filter what's good and bad to look at. And,
Yeah.
you just turn me on to two movies here, I'll check those out, right? And that's how you do it now. It's really weird.
Well, that's part of the reason why I bring it up is because there's so much shit out there. Like when it comes to movies, music, podcasts, whatever, it's hard to sift through the shit. So it's like if I talk to somebody like you, who I trust your opinion, we seem to like similar stuff. I ask on the podcast because it's like, and I think some people are kind of like, why are you asking me this? It's like, but that's how I find stuff. It's just you got to ask people, and
Well,
otherwise, I don't know what
that's
to watch. You know what I mean?
and
Because
that
it's
becomes a
like,
problem. That becomes a problem for a filmmaker like me because there's so much stuff now that people won't really take a chance on something that doesn't have name actors in it.
yeah,
So it's very hard to get eyes on my movie because you know they haven't heard critics say it's great. We've got a good review on Rotten Tomatoes, but nobody's going there to read it.
is it on Rotten
And
Tomatoes? What's the review on Rotten Tomatoes?
it's Bradley Gibson on Rotten Tomatoes. You can go read it. It's a good review.
But I mean, does it have like a percentage or whatever?
Well, it's
Like on
only the
top.
one. It's
Oh,
only
okay.
one. So,
Well, the thing is though, is that I think sometimes, obviously, I understand like not wanting to like um only talk about obviously I like talking about indie
mhm,
actors too, but I think part of the thing is like just having an open discussion, like your name might or will get thrown out there. Like if somebody asks me and I liked your movie, I might say, "Oh yeah, watch this guy's movie." Yeah, there's no big
right.
names in it, but I kind of feel like the best way to find things now is word of mouth. So, um if that makes sense. So it's like
Yeah, that's how it
um
is now, right?
yeah, you kind of have
Yeah.
to talk about it, but I feel like a lot of people like don't really want to talk about other people's stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like,
Well, it is uncomfortable. I don't want to bag anybody,
well, not
but
necessarily bag, but just say what you're into, or.
but it's funny. It's like that question, like who are the new people? It's like, oh wow, like who are like it's genuinely a question I've never considered.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like I could tell you the directors that have influenced me, but it's like, oh, I never really thought about it in that way. And now I'm actually gonna put some thought into it, and I'll have a list by next week. One of the things I find interesting in my life is when I was growing up, you have all these directors that you think are like they're going to be major influences on you. They're great directors, Hitchcock, Spielberg, whatever. And it's funny that when you actually get to the point of making a movie, it's funny who actually does become your influence. Like I'm not copying anything Spielberg does,
Yeah,
you
I don't think
know.
you are. Yeah.
But right, but I would have thought 30 years ago that guy would be a huge influence on me. I think he's one of the America's great directors, and he's amazing. But all that guy does is inspire me, right? Whereas I got more out of John Cassavetes' box set. Movies that bored the shit out of me when I was in my 20s, and now, in my middle age, I'm like, oh my God, these movies were made for me. So
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Who ends up actually being your influence? Who would have guessed it was, mumblecore and Cassavetes and Tyler Perry, and like it's just kind of crazy.
What
Like,
about like Woody Allen? Maybe like a little bit of a Woody Allen thing.
sure, sure. I really like how he would keep the camera still and the actors would actually leave the set and come. You'd hear them, but they would be off camera and then they'd come back. I always liked that. I tried to do that in Clocking, but we ended up deleting those scenes. Uh, you know, it's funny. It's just it's wild. The things that appealed to me were not camera moves. You know, like I really like if you look at Sidney Lumet movies, they're highly stylized. You watch Serpico and you think you're watching a documentary, but it's really, if you look at the color and the use of trees in the background, it's highly stylized. I like that kind of stylization where you don't realize, oh, there's a lot of visual panache here, but it's not in your face. I like that kind of subtlety.
Yeah.
But when I was in my teens watching movies, I never would have realized that that was speaking to me. I would have been
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, we got to get a Luma crane, and we got to get a camera down here, and we'll come in close on a 10, and
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Blowout earlier, and I watched
yeah,
that movie only because Quentin Tarantino said it was like one of his favorite movies. And that's what's his name? Brian or what's his
Brian De
director's
Palma,
Brian
yeah,
De
De
Palma.
Palma,
And so I watched it and I was like, obviously I have to factor in the time period or whatever, but it was good, but then it was like there was that whole scene where he just drives his truck through like a fucking like a, like whatever, like ton of people downtown.
right?
And I was like, what the hell is happening here? Like it was just insane. It was like it like didn't even make sense to me really. And it's like I feel like stuff will happen like that in like these really well reviewed movies. Same thing with like I brought up The Godfather earlier, and it was like I forget exactly what it was, but it was like Al Pacino and his wife or whatever moved to like Italy or whatever.
Right,
And I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like 3 months later, like someone's car blows up and he goes back and then he's like
right,
suddenly not with her or something like that. It was like
yeah,
this isn't even making sense, right? And it's like I don't know. I think some people will just say, "Oh, well, like you have to like suspend your disbelief or whatever," like these Marvel movies. But it's like, I'm sorry, but if something's not making sense and like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a problem
right.
there. Like, do you agree with that, or like, do you think that like,
I'm a big believer that sometimes uh, a bad cut is better than perfection. Like keeping your pacing and the tone consistent is is the goal. I never really had a problem with that. It's funny. We just watched the first two last this beginning of this year, I think.
the first
Um,
two?
Godfather and Godfather
Oh, okay,
2.
okay, yeah,
They really play as one movie if you watch them back to back. Um, and then I wouldn't bother with Godfather 3, but
yeah,
I didn't really have a problem with it, although I see what you're saying. It feels very truncated. Um, and that may have been like, we got to get him back. We got to get this moving. So let's just bring it together. And those are the choices you make in editing, like is it better to just keep it moving, or is it better that all the tabs fit into all the slots? You find yourself making those choices almost every day on a feature.
Yeah, and I forgot exactly my gripe with it, because I could be getting it wrong, and who knows, maybe they jumped forward a year or something. But I kind of felt like he was with that woman, and they didn't really explain, and then they suddenly cut back, and then he meets up with Diane Keaton, or whoever
Mhm.
it was. Um, yeah, and then so I'm a huge like Breaking Bad fan. I don't know if you're a big Breaking Bad fan,
Yeah,
but he's coming out with his new show, and Breaking Bad's an example of what I personally think was like, okay, there was like almost no, as far as I saw, there was no plot holes in the show.
right.
But now he's coming out with this show that looks really kind. I don't see how he's going to be able to. I don't know if you've heard of his new show coming out, Pluribus. I've seen like nothing but ads everywhere for it. But
Yeah.
have you
I
seen?
just literally saw an ad today. That's the first I've heard of it.
But it doesn't seem like a great idea, and I'm like, is Apple TV Plus somehow getting involved with some of these shows they're putting out and just ruining it, or what's going on here? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Obviously it's not
I
out
don't
yet,
know.
but
I remember everyone complaining about The Wire,
yeah,
but
I couldn't get through
but
that.
right. And it's the same thing. It's like you have 10 episodes and they build the story just like Andor. You have 10 episodes and the first four feel like nothing's happening, and then it all comes together, and that's proper dramatic structure. So, it could be the case where, they're advertising, the first couple episodes because that's all they've got, but there's a goal and a destination it's going, and it'll be great. I don't know, you know.
Well, that's the whole thing. I don't really know with Pluribus, and you're right. You have to have the pay. I think you have to. Well, see, the thing with Breaking Bad is that um, some people have told me that where it was kind of slow. Breaking Bad, I thought was perfect all the way through. Like I
Mm,
was not bored at any moment throughout the entire thing. Perfect. With The Wire, I kind of felt like I really gave it a try, and it never seemed. And maybe I didn't get far enough, but it never seemed to progress. It was like just nothing was happening. Maybe I didn't get far enough, but I feel like
mm.
you have to somehow hook the person in. But what my bigger question with, I haven't seen the new show, so I don't know. Maybe it's going to be great, but do you feel like Apple TV Plus and Netflix and all these big brand streaming services are kind of getting involved too much and almost ruining the movies or the shows? Because, like we said, we don't think it's as good as it was.
I don't think they're ruining movies, but they're certainly homogenizing the experience. So, you know, it's surprising how few older movies are available to stream now. It's surprising how few indie movies are streaming. None of this is good, I think.
Yeah,
You know, I think that you really do need the marketplace to be more varied. I don't think it does you well. I mean, unless you're the horror channel or you're, the action channel or whatever. But for the most streamers, they have a variety of entertainment. And I don't think it does well. And I think that holds for music too. You know, if you don't play new bands, then where the fuck are you going in 10 years? You know,
yeah,
my kids listen to hip hop. Like hip hop came out in what, 98, 2000? Like, what are you listening to hip hop for? You should be listening to something I hate. Um,
yeah. They're
and
still
and and
listening to it.
that right, exactly. And it's because they don't really want to give new bands a break because they don't want to make that investment. Well, the same thing holds true for indie film. If you don't have um, people coming up from the bottom with interesting, engaging material, then ultimately the road you're on ends to a dead end. So I don't think it's good that they're limited the amount of exposure. to work. That being said, there's a lot of bad indie movies out there. So
Yeah, that's I think that's part of it is well, there's so much now. I think that like back in the 70s, like you were saying, or 80s or 60s or whatever, even 90s, it almost seems like there was less. I think there was
right,
less, but what there
right,
was better. Like maybe there was 100 movies, but at least 10 of them were
yeah,
like really good. You know what I mean?
right, exactly. And
Now there's
now that
just
it's
so
still
many.
10, it's still 10, but there's 10,000.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? I think the year we went to Sundance, there were 22,000 films submitted. I mean, come on, you know, uh, who's getting their movie watched with 22,000 submissions?
Yeah.
So there's the technology has allowed a real demo, democratization of the medium. Anyone can make a movie, but that's also the problem. The other side of that blade is, well, anyone can make a movie, and there's too many movies. And how do you get eyes on it? And as a result, nobody really cares anymore. You're not getting a distribution deal. You're not getting eyes on your movie. My movie, it people look at the thumbnail on Amazon. Oh, it's a rom-com. Okay, I'll watch that. And that's how I get plays. But because they don't really pay, it doesn't really do me any good, you know.
Was it hard for you to get it on to Amazon or no?
No, I think we submitted to Film Hub, and within a week we were on Amazon. Within 4 or 5 we were in Tubi. I think we're on like 9 places now. You can go to clockingthet.com and it has links to all the places that play it.
Do you think there's a possibility that it'll be one of those movies that kind of it just takes a while to kind of catch on?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I it, I tried really hard to make a movie that's rewatchable. Like if you watch it again, you'll pick up other stuff. There's subtle connections in there. I don't know. It's all out of my hands. Like you were saying earlier, you post something, it's out of your hands whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
All you can do is your best and put it out there. And I'm at the same juncture. It's like, all I can do is put it out there and try to get the word out that it's out there, and hopefully it'll play a long time. A buddy of mine made a thriller 10 years ago and it's still playing. I think he's on like 19 channels at this point. So, and he
19
doesn't have an
streaming services or
yeah, yeah.
what's the
He
thriller?
he's let's say again.
What's it called? Like
It's called shit, why am I drawing a blank? Um oh shit, what was his movie called? It starts with an S.
it's like
Oh,
an indie thriller.
it's like an indie thriller, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's gonna kick my ass. Fuck. What is the name of it? It's on my Hoopla Play channel too. Oh, yeah, you know what? Let me check. I can do it on my phone.
What is Hoopla?
It's one of the streaming services you can get free on your library. Your library card's awesome, man.
Like an app or
Yeah. So here we go. It is Solitary. There it is.
okay. And
Solitary.
it's doing pretty good or what?
Yeah, so that came out in 2009, and he does really well with that. It's been playing nonstop since then. Hopefully my film will be the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well
so
the
there's
big
two
thing like
there's two services you can get. One is Hoopla and the other one is Canopy.
it's
And
all
so
free
it's all
movies.
free. All you need is a library card. You enter your library information, and they have big movies, they have small movies. Canopy has a lot. of short films, really, really great ones.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that like kind of surprises me with movies and music too is like you won't hear of you won't um well there's two part of parts to this, but you won't know somebody that all of a sudden it's like they're huge or whatever.
Right.
Or like somebody like Quentin Tarantino or whatever, like his first movie is Reservoir Dogs. And it's like, how did he even get that movie made? Like it's like how is your first movie come out, with all these famous actors? Like what do you do? Convince somebody to like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
how do
Well,
you even
they got Harvey Keitel, and once they got Harvey Keitel, other people wanted to be in it.
that's pretty much it. You just think all you got to do is convince one guy to be in your,
Yeah, Harvey Keitel's a respected actor.
but it's like
And
how did he even get to Harvey Keitel? Like you think he just
well,
somehow,
the wasn't it Lawrence Bender, the producer, had some connection with him,
yeah.
and they got the script to him and he liked it. And then, a lot of those people that you think are big names were not when that movie came out. That movie is what made them a big name, right? I mean, Buscemi had been in a few things.
Yeah.
Tim Roth was an English actor. Uh, Michael Madsen hadn't done anything of note, right? That was a big breakout movie. I mean, pretty much everyone in that cast came out well.
Yeah. And you think it was more because of because of that movie than it was about them. That you think that
Yeah,
movie almost made all
that
of them kind
movie's
of.
great, but that was also made in a day when a good indie could get distribution. People went to a theater to see it because critics said it was worth their time, right?
Well, I think
Um,
that's part of it. I think we need the critics. We need
right,
like
and we have no critics now.
we have well the thing is we have Rotten Tomatoes, but it does some sort of weird thing where it like aggregates all the critics' reviews, and
Right.
it doesn't necessarily seem to be correct all the time. But it's like we need tastemakers. Like before with music, I would find a lot of music on this website. I don't know if you've heard of pitchfork.com. But
Yeah,
yeah, like they would be, and now they've turned into this more of like a pop kind of website. But before, you would be able to find a lot of music on there. We need that type of thing where it's like there's a website that everybody you can just trust. It'll you know what I mean? I'm sure there
right.
are
Well,
websites.
we used to have nationally known critics that even your parents knew, right? Everyone knew who Siskel and Ebert was, or Rex Reed, or Gene Shalit, right? Or in L.A., they knew who. Now I'm blanking on who the guy was at the L.A. Times, but they had everyone knew who Richard Schickel was at Time Magazine. And so you had these people writing reviews that everyone knew about, and their opinions were respected. And if they said, you got to go check out Reservoir Dogs, it's terrific. People went, all right, I'll go check out Reservoir Dogs. That was something I'd like. That doesn't happen now. Like
We need that somehow. You know what I mean? Like we need
yeah. And what you get now is a bunch of bloggers, most of them who are not really schooled in journalistic practice or even have the ability to examine filmmaker intent, right? And so
just some random person. Yeah,
right. And so what's their opinion different than mine?
yeah,
Right. And once you do that, well, then, who's really listening?
yeah,
And that's the problem that we don't have people who are interested in being those kind of supporters of the arts anymore. And I think that's not just movies, it's music, it's plays,
yeah,
it's the art world itself. There's just been a complete breakdown in uh filtration, for lack of a better word.
yeah. Well, the one
You
good
know?
thing about it is at least you get your movie is up on 9 platforms, right? So it's like
Yeah,
it's easier for you to at least refer somebody to go watch the movie as opposed to 20 years ago it wouldn't be up on any platform. It
right,
maybe you might be able to get it in to a theater or whatever. But I mean, at least there's more ways to actually watch the movie now. That's one
right.
plus. You mentioned Safdie brothers. Do you like the Safdie brothers? Are you into those? Like,
Yeah, I like them a lot. I mean,
yeah,
uh, I haven't seen the latest one, but the Uncut Gems and Good Time
yeah. Those were the
was
two that I
really
watched.
terrific. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I missed their first film. It was on Criterion 2 months ago, and I just completely missed it.
like Heaven
So I
Knows
got to
What or
catch it.
something like that.
Yeah, whatever it was, I really wanted to watch it. Um, Again, they do heavy character movies, but they're able to engage them in a plot that feels very thriller-esque and driven, but they're essentially character work.
Yeah, they're similar to PTA in the
Right.
sense, to me, that like I can tell they're really good, and I watch their movies, and I want to watch the newest one, but it's pretty weird. Like when you're watching it, you're like, oh man, this is like giving me anxiety or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's
Right.
I can tell it's good. And then one last guy I want to go over is, what do you think about Stanley Kubrick? Would you say that you think he's like the best director of all time, or
And you know what? I don't fall into that.
really?
I don't understand why the current generation has the best of everything. Kubrick's a great director. And I think seeing 2001 when I was 6, 7 was influential to me. Um, and I also think, you know, Barry Lyndon and Eyes Wide Shut are incredible movies to me. And he's really one of the monumental directors of all time.
But what? Where'd you see you don't fall into?
No, I just everyone has it seems like nowadays everyone's like these are the 10 best movies ever. This is Stanley Kubrick's best movie. Like why can't they all be good? Right?
Yeah.
Between this one cooks. And it's just like can't they both be good? Like they both have something to offer. Like like when I say the movies that were influential to me in Kubrick, that doesn't mean I didn't go bonkers for Shining when it came out, or Full Metal Jacket, or Clockwork Orange, or Doctor Strangelove, or The Killing, or I mean, it's just I don't understand that there has to be the best. This is the best spaghetti ever made. Most spaghetti's pretty damn good.
I think part of it might just be the age we're like, going back to the age we're living in, where it's like there's so much shit out there that it's like you kind of almost are forced to, like, which isn't a good thing, but you're almost forced to kind of be like, okay, this is the best. You have to watch this. But there's so much shit out there that it's like, if you're not like that,
Yeah.
there's just too much, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You almost
Yeah,
have to like,
I know what you're saying. You see it on like Reddit all the time. Should I watch 2001: A Space Odyssey? Dude, by the time you get your vote, you could have watched it.
yeah,
Uh, and but I get what you're saying. It's like, I want to watch a David Fincher movie. Which one should I watch? I don't know.
just pick one.
Yeah, what I found myself doing over the years is video grazing, where you're trying to find the right movie to watch.
Yeah, it's
And
tough.
yeah, and you'll go 3 hours and not watch shit. And
Yeah,
what me and my wife have trained ourselves to do is within a couple minutes, we'll just like that one's good. Go. And we force ourselves to just hit play. Oh, I always wanted to see this. Play.
yeah.
And we've sort of removed that from our lives now. And by doing that also, we end up seeing a lot of movies we would never consciously pick, because all these services, the menu is always changing. So it's not always the same that it was yesterday.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that where like their Netflix is supposedly kind of, it almost sounds like a conspiracy theory, but I think it's true. Or like they're kind of intentionally trying to like show you what to watch. So like you're not even like really, and same with YouTube or whatever. It's like it's getting to a point where like you're not even like really picking it anymore. It's more like Netflix is feeding it to you kind of thing where
Right.
like you're no longer choosing as opposed to Netflix just saying, here, watch this, you know.
Right.
Um so I mean I think the game might be like you have to somehow, it's like more of like kind of business strategy or something where you have to somehow get your movie to be on, you know, the front page of Amazon or whatever. Like that's the goal,
Right.
which means you probably need
Right.
money and whatever
Right.
else.
Which
But just,
isn't going to happen.
yeah.
Well, listen, without name actors, you can't really sell your movie, and that's just the reality. And but you can't make the movie for the price I made it if you get a name actor. So it's all self-defeating.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think, yeah. Um,
On that depressing note,
yeah, on that depressing note, I was trying to segue out of it, but one question I want to ask is, who would you say your favorite? And I feel like you don't like these questions, but who would you say your favorite director is? Or if you don't even want to
uh,
give that one, you can. Oh, yeah, I would say our favorite
I
actor.
I'll tell you what. I will I don't really have this, but let's see. I do have a list of directors I did once. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. So here are the directors. I wrote this last year. I was like, who are my influences? And I wrote down this list, and it's George Roy Hill, Sidney Lumet, Carol Ballard, Christoph Kieslowski, Buster Keaton, Warren Beatty, who's a terrific director, Fred
What did he
Skepsey.
direct? Warren Beatty.
Oh, Heaven Can Wait, Reds. There was one other movie he did that I really liked. I'm just brain farting because I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Peter Weir, Woody Allen, Bob Fosse, Richard Donner, Michael Tolkien, John Carpenter, George Lucas, William Wyler, Douglas Trumbull, Mel Brooks, Blake Edwards, Jackie Chan, Walter Hill, Albert Brooks, Stuart
Jackie
Rosenberg.
Chan directs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He directed a
Really?
lot in the 80s. He
I didn't
directed a
know
lot in
that.
the 80s. Yeah, there's a movie on Criterion right now called Miracles that's terrific. I saw that in Hong Kong when I was there. And Fred Scapisi, who I apparently entered twice. That's how much I liked him. But like I should add the some of these mumblecore people. Like I ended up making a movie more like them than anybody I just listed.
Yeah. Was Sidney Lumet or whatever? Was he the guy who? I think I'm mixing him up with somebody, but I'm thinking of the guy who's in Eyes Wide Shut.
No, that's
Sidney,
Sidney Pollack.
Sidney Pollack, and he's just an actor, right?
No, he was also director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
did some great movies. Yeah, Lumet did some fantastic films. A lot of them have just been sort of forgotten.
I
Um,
don't even know if I know of any of his movies.
yeah, he did Prince of the City, Dog Day Afternoon, Serpico. He did this one called The Offense that's fantastic. It's so dark with Sean Connery. I literally just saw that I think 2 years ago. A really, really great forgotten movie.
What's it called?
The Offense, and I think it's spelled the English way with a C instead of an S.
And then if there's somebody, well, you mentioned Richard Donner, and for whatever reason, I thought of
Yeah.
his name because my dad happened to like work, like sell to him or something like that. Like he was a
Oh wow.
salesman, and he went
Yeah.
down to the studio when they were shooting Free Willy or something like that. And because he did Free Willy, right?
Well, yeah, he produced it, didn't he?
I thought he might have directed it, or no, maybe just produced it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Um, Yeah, and he sold to him. Yeah. Then, so is there anybody you want to work with in terms of actors?
Good ones.
Just good ones.
No. Yeah, I don't care. You know, when you look at the indie scene in the 70s and the 80s, though all those movies, Clerks, She's Gotta Have It, you know, John Sayles movies. How could I forget John Sayles? Um, they're all filled with people you never heard of before. There's so much talent out there. When we cast Clocking the T, we got over 12,000 submissions. And
Whoa.
I went through everything with a video. Anybody who had video, we watched it. And there's so much good talent out there. And so it's like, you know, to me, it's like, just bring me somebody who's excited and who's got some skills.
You literally went through 12,000.
Yeah, it took me weeks, weeks.
Man.
So you filter it, right? We knew we weren't shooting union, so we didn't look at anybody who's union. If you didn't have video, we weren't looking at you. Yeah, we were looking for um, people who were non-union and had video. So by the time you filtered that down, it was really 3,000 people. And then you're watching 3,000 and you just click through that media really quickly. But I was doing that 8 hours a day for 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, going back to the actors thing real quick.
Hmm.
I felt like your actors did just as good of a job as, you could have cast Timothy Chalamet or whoever in it, and I thought they did.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I thought they were
yeah,
perfect for the role. Like, I don't, even though you
yeah.
kind of need those big names to sell your movie, like they did just as good of a job in my opinion. But
If we'd made this movie in 1988, those people would be household names right now.
yeah,
Right? Because that was the
that's too
time that
bad.
when people would just go, that these performances are terrific. And now it's just like, yeah, no one cares.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to there's just so much shit out there. And do you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
I think I already asked you, but do you know anybody in the industry that can? Because you were doing editing for so long, don't you?
Well, I edited on a bunch of straight to video in the 90s, and all those people are gone. And then I edited in trailers, and really I stopped editing to make this movie. And then COVID hit, and then I moved. So I barely know anybody in the industry anymore.
Yeah.
Like
How's
all the people I edited trailers with, most of those people are out of the business now. I mean, the business has just collapsed.
yeah,
If they're not making movies, they're not cutting trailers,
yeah. And then how's
right?
Santa Rosa? I was that's where you live now, right? If you don't mind me
Yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah. We live in wine country.
I th- I'm pretty sure it's Santa Rosa, but I'm pretty sure me and my fiance and her family went up to Santa Rosa because her mom was buried. My fiance's mom's mom was like buried there. I think we went to that exact city
Oh, no kidding.
to go. Is there like a graveyard or something there? I'm pretty sure it was
There's a
Santa
couple,
Rosa.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a real old one in Sonoma. I mean, that is like goes back to the turn of last century.
I guess I could be thinking of Santa Paula. I don't remember if it was Santa Rosa or Santa Paula, but it was
Yeah.
something Santa. But you
I
like
think
living
Santa Rosa's big claim to fame is Charles Schultz lived here.
who's Charles Schultz? I feel like I know the name, but
Peanuts, Charlie
he,
Brown and Snoopy.
oh, okay. You like it up there more than LA?
In
Or
LA? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you were living in LA for a while, right?
I lived in LA for 38 years. 38 years, man. That's a long time.
But you're pretty much retired now.
Yeah, I think it was forced upon me.
By what? The movie
Well,
industry?
The movie industry is just not, they
Yeah,
don't have work. Everyone
yeah,
I know is not working anymore.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
a
very,
bummer.
very few of them have jobs.
Yeah,
And that's in production as well.
yeah, that's a bummer. And it's probably only going to get worse with AI, I would imagine. So
Yeah, I don't know.
we'll see.
Like I said, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah,
But there's going to be a period where it's going to be slim pickings,
yeah,
and I honestly believe it'll pull out. I lived through this with sampling in the early '80s, and everyone thought that was going to be the answer, and of course it never is. You
yeah,
know, and also, look, we like movies. We like movie stars. Who the fuck wants to be an AI movie star? You know, people
yeah,
people want to look at a real live movie star because part of the fantasy is I could be that person. Well, I can't be a cartoon figure, no matter how lifelike, right?
yeah. I mean, unless what I'm thinking that what they might do, I don't even know. But is like supposedly there's talks about them. The AI will like replicate like Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt,
Right.
so they won't even have to like act in the movie. They'll just have their AI replica or whatever in the movie. But who knows
Yeah. What was that movie?
what movie? Oh, there was a movie right
Uh,
with Al Pacino.
no, it was with Robin Wright. Let me look it up.
I saw one with Al Pacino a while ago where
Yeah.
there was like a singer or something, or maybe an actress who was like it was like a fake AI. This was like 20 years ago too.
Yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of. What was that called? It's really good.
With Al Pacino? Was Al Pacino in
No,
it?
no, no. The one with Robin Wright. You're thinking of what was that called?
You know what I'm talking about?
Simone?
Yeah,
Simone.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking for this one by what was the name of that movie? Shit.
She's like the Forrest Gump lady, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
her. Yeah. She did a movie. Shit, I can't find it. I'm on her IMDb trying to find it for you. It's really good.
Was it
And
more recent or
it's like in the last 10 years or something. Um, right. I find IMDb is getting harder and harder to find stuff. It's like you have to know what it is. And it's like, no, I
yeah.
just want to scroll there.
Well, one thing I noticed that they did recently is they used to have it in order of like the
The
time,
Congress.
the
The
Congress.
Congress. Yeah, with Robin Wright, 2013. It's exactly that plot. It's really, really a good movie. It's really weird.
They used to have. I'll check that out. I'll check out all of them. They used to have. Or oh yeah, they used to have it. So I don't know if you noticed this, but they used to have it where it was all in timeline. But like for whatever reason, they made it so it's not in time order. Like it, you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
instead of being in time order of the director or actor, it's like all out of. I don't know why they've done that. But
Yeah, I don't either.
so to end things, I always ask this question. You probably won't like the question because I've been asking it the whole time. But
Is it what's my favorite curse word?
your favorite movie or not your favorite? Sorry, your what are some things you're into? It could be movies, music, podcasts, TV shows, anything you're into. And like I said,
Yes.
I think that people don't like me asking this question because they're like, I'm into my own shit. But I'm like I said, I'm always looking for stuff, and even if it's indie or whatever, I just want um anything you're into that you want to, and then also obviously your movie and anything else you want to
You know,
say
I
about your
I
movie.
I I love all that stuff. But I one thing that's happened ever since I've gotten these phones with the cameras in them is that's kind of I rediscovered my love of photography.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, when I was in high school, I had a camera in a dark room in my bedroom and in my closet, and it really has, like, I have an Instagram and I post pictures, and it really has revitalized that kind of love of photography.
I totally agree. About 15 years ago or so, I I got out of college. I just started working, and then I wasn't doing like really any art for like 5 or 10 years. And I was like, you know what? I want to get into like photography kind of randomly. But
Yeah,
it was Instagram and I had the phone. So I just started going places with my phone, taking pictures, and it's like it turned into like an art form. So when people badmouth the phone, which I totally get, I'm like, well, at least I'm doing some art with it, with the photography on it.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I feel like just to have that, not to try to monetize it, but just try to enjoy that has been really a great thing in my life. Because
Especially
before
going
the
to pretty places and yeah, taking
yeah,
pictures. Yeah.
before this, I my camera was in a box, forgotten, because I can't afford to shoot film. But digital, you can take pictures, you
Yeah.
can, play with them, color correct them, post them for your friends. It's really been great. I have to say I've really enjoyed that more than anything. And
Yeah.
also I've started to get back into reading.
Okay. Yeah, there was a movie with there was a movie called Boyhood, which you probably saw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great.
Which it was a good movie, but it was long. I remember like about halfway through or more, he like drove to Texas or whatever, and he like took out
Yeah,
his camera and started taking pictures. And I remember
right.
that kind of hit me because it was like I think he had fallen away from it or something, and then like got
Sure.
back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's part of his arc. That's right. Yeah. Well, we must have filled up your hard drive by now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for letting me. Did you say everything you wanted to though about your?
Oh, my movie is Clocking the T. You can go to clockingtheT.com and see where it's playing. You can buy it at many fine retailers like Amazon or Walmart or whatever. Movie Zing has it. The Blu-ray special edition has actual dailies on it from two scenes that you can copy to your computer and you can edit. So that's fun. Nobody's ever done that before, so that's worth a souvenir, if anything. And
If
that's about it.
is all the stuff that's on that on YouTube, or is it only on that Blu-ray?
It's only on that Blu-ray.
Okay, so if you want, like I didn't, like I said before, I didn't want to make it seem like
Yeah,
I didn't want it because I will take it. I would want it. I'll just have to get like a Blu-ray or whatever. Or yeah,
right.
I mean we
Yeah,
have one, so I can just plug in. So I'll
yeah,
send you my address if you want
yeah.
to send
Send
it.
it,
So yeah.
send it, and I'll drop it in the mail for you. It's a
All right,
lot of
cool.
fun, and the license that comes with it means you can take your scene, and if you want to put it on your social media for to advertise your editing skills or your special effects skills, you're welcome to.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oh yeah, I'll try and tell as many people about it as possible. I liked it. It was legitimately a really good movie. So,
Thanks. Well, go to Letterbox and give it a good review.
all right, I will. Sounds good. And if I'm able to review it on Rotten Tomatoes, I don't know. Do they let anybody go on there? I don't know how
No, you
to.
have to be a registered critic. Um,
Okay,
but
I'll go.
you can always put it on Amazon or IMDb or something.
Okay, cool. I'll go on
I'm
one of
not
those.
above begging.
Hey, I know how it is. It's like we
All
said.
right.
It's come to that where you have to beg on for me at least on YouTube or TikTok. Please, like what
Yeah.
like and
You know,
subscribe or whatever.
it's funny. I like your show. I was just listening to one on the airplane. I listened to one with a filmmaker, and then I was listening to one on an analytics guy.
Analytics. What do you mean?
Let's see. Let's see. Let me
Well,
pull
I'm
up.
what was the filmmaker one? Because there was one that just went like batshit
I'll
crazy. I don't
tell
know.
you in a minute. No, no, no. Nobody went bat crazy. It was
The
good
so the last
conversation. It was Michael Thibault.
Okay, I'm glad you listened to that one because the last two I had on, there
Uh-huh.
was a guy and a girl, and they were the last like filmmakers, and like
Yeah.
it just went nuts. Like the girl was fine, but the guy, like you could barely see his face, and he was just kind of like mumbling, and it didn't sound like they weren't gonna make a movie. I mean, it was like they wanted to, but like they were going to make a movie, but it was like,
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You know, people I think just as a life lesson, you can talk about something so much that you end up not doing it.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's one of the reasons why when I decided to make this movie, I really didn't talk to many people about it. I just
yeah.
It's a big deal. You put one foot in front of the other. How do you eat an elephant? One spoonful at a time.
That's a good way to go.
Right.
I feel like when you tell people a lot of times too, some people will give you bad advice and tell you what to do, and
Yeah,
you
and
don't
they
want to
always
hear
give you
it.
advice like you have a budget and you have a crew, and it's like, no,
Yeah,
man, one thing at a time. I can tell you this, on the first day of photography, I remember standing there when everyone was walking in on the apartment, and I remember thinking, how did I get here? When you think I put 6 months into pre-production, but because I only focused on the thing in front of me, one thing at a time, it's like, oh wait, I'm shooting today.
yeah.
And and I truly believe that's how you do it at this budget level. You
And
don't
then,
think about the ending, you just think about the next foot moving.
and then not only that, but you said you had screenings in Orlando. I don't know how many screenings you had if you only had those two, but
Yeah.
did you have how many screenings did you have?
We had four, two in Orlando, two in Studio City. Uh Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. We got into four festivals. One kicked us out before we even showed. And then,
Why?
oh, because they had us like at Sunday night at like 10:30 or something. And I'm like, can you get us earlier? And they were literally like, fuck off. Listen,
Really?
do you want to know how to you want to know what we went through on this movie? The Twitter for us, um, clocking the T, on what is it, X now? Um, I
Yeah.
started that the day we decided to write it, and I kept that religiously, and that is the entire timeline. You can also go to clockingthet.com, and there's a timeline button, and if you click on that, that's the entire Twitter feed copied over, and you can literally read what we went through making this movie.
Like you just did like a little like kind of like a write up
Yeah.
every day or whatever.
Yeah, not every day, but when
Yeah.
things would happen, I would update it. So you can see that's our making of, is that timeline.
What
It's a
film
lot of fun.
festival was it? Just out of curiosity. Palm
I,
Springs,
I
by any chance?
no, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
Oh, you don't even want to say. Okay.
Yeah, it's just not. But it was literally like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
then we got into I forget the other one in Chicago, and well, but we didn't win. Seth Adam Cohen. That was the analytic guy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. How did you listen to that whole thing or a
No, I've
lot?
only got like a half hour into it, and then our plane landed, so I got to get
That
back to it.
that's just that's just that consciousness stuff is pretty wild. I don't know if you're into that at
Yeah,
all, but yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows how to talk about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, and then
yeah. Send me your address. I'll send you a disc, and thanks for having me.
yeah. And I was gonna say, just making. At one point, I was like, all I wanted to do with music was just to make an album, just fucking make an album.
Yeah,
And I never did it. But now it's more of like movies, and it's like if I could just make a movie, that's the goal. And it's like you did it, and then not only that, but I was gonna say you did it with, and you're able to go screen it and everything. So that's awesome, man. I'll thanks for listening,
yeah.
guys.
Listen, it's if I can do it, you can do it. There's
Yeah.
nothing special about me.
Although I don't have the 80,000, but I can try and do
But
it.
but
for cheap.
if you have an idea that takes place in a fucking room or a cabin,
Yeah.
right?
One.
If you have one bottle, you can bang that off in a couple of days, and it won't cost you anything other than feeding your actors and crew,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to do it.
What is Reservoir Dogs? If you take out the flashbacks, you can still make Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
right? And it's all in the garage.
Yeah.
We could have made Clocking the Tea much cheaper if we hadn't done the third week and fourth week of shooting, right? So instead of being in a restaurant, they're walking on the street,
Yeah. Yeah. There's always
right?
ways. There's always ways to make it cheaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we could have made it for probably $20,000 less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
hopefully
it's
one day.
problem solving is the name of the game.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks, Mike. It's been nice talking to you and nice to meet you.
You too. Bye,
Take
guys.
care, man. Bye.